What is up, RotoGrinders? Good morning, 9:30 on the East Coast. A ridiculous 6:30 out there on the West Coast. What's up, West Coast? Hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on notifications. It is the start of 3.5 hours of nonstop NFL DFS conversation, Week 13, taking you all the way up to kickoff for quite possibly, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to be hyperbolic, the worst slate in the history of DFS. We're all playing with the same puzzle pieces, but biggest total on the board currently is Buffalo-Pittsburgh at 45.5. Just 10 games because there was games on Thanksgiving, game on Friday, Sunday night, Monday night. We have a weather game there, a wind game, I should say, in Cleveland. San Fran and Cleveland, 35.5 is the total. Atlanta and the Jets is under 40. Several other games hovering in the 41, 42. Hey, we're all playing with the same puzzle pieces. We all, got to kind of figure this one out, but it does feel a little bit gross going in pre-flop. Questionable today, Tyler Warren. Last I saw, he had the fish, so he is questionable today. Chris Olave expected to play. Darren Waller expected to play for Miami. We haven't seen him for a while. Both players for Tennessee. Chig and Iomanor, both good to go. We're going to see the return of Marvin Harrison. Hopefully he doesn't muck up the good thing that Arizona's offense has going on. Bam Knight also expected to play. Baker Mayfield expected to be good to go despite his injuries last week. And Bucky, we're going to see Bucky Irving, 7 early, 3 late, Superstar Sunday. We'll go ahead and start scrolling that in a second. We're going to give away a week free of RG Premium. First person to tell me what Superstar I'm talking about in the Discord channel. That is rotogrinders.com/Discord live stream chat. We can drop the first clue for the people that are here early. Why not? Reward those that jump on 9:30. So first clue is Friday. Friday is the first clue. Let me say hello to $4 million winner. It's Bobby Gomes, former third place winner most recently for the $1 million contest. Bobby, happy Sunday. Am I correct in assessing this as the grossest? I mean, again, hyperbole maybe, but I can't recall a slate this terrible. I don't know, man. If you love your lineup today, your expectations are lower than mine. But
yeah, this is rough. I hate waking up on a Sunday morning, having to sift through Roth's weather report. Nothing against Roth. It's just a lot of information you kind of have to basically dig into. And we don't have great quarterbacks on the slate. We don't have. I don't love pretty much. There isn't really a position outside of Devin Achane. There's no one I'm in love with that I just want to get to on this slate. So for me, I'll be looking for condensed offenses and good weather spots that have good correlation, and that's pretty much how I'm playing this slate. That's my overall view of this slate. Looking at it,
I think it's a good day to be different because I think we're going to get some bad chalk. Because something's got to be chalk, and again, there's not a lot of great pieces. You mentioned Roth. I went ahead and dropped his report in the old YouTube. If you guys want to take a look at it, the one that's most glaring, I suppose, is San Fran at Cleveland. I did mention that total was 35.5. Roth does say the good news is that we're dry, but the bad news is that winds will be sustained around 25 miles per hour, wind gust around 35. So that would be impactful, of course, on kicks and longer throws. It is yellow-orange for the Jets and Atlanta. Some rain going to be going through there. Yellow in Carolina, green-yellow for Miami, yellow Pittsburgh, and the last two are not in this slate. Yellow Washington, yellow in New England. Tim, how are things? Happy Sunday. Do you love this slate? Are you going to be a contrarian, Tim? Are you going to tell us how much you love this slate? Oh, I love how gross it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to content all week, and I was like, when are we going to stop talking about CJ Stroud and cash games? Do we really have to play CJ Stroud and cash games? And I guess we do. I guess it's just where we're going to be landing today, and it's disgusting. This is usually there's times when people say, "Oh, I hate cash games this week," or "I hate single entry stuff," and this is a really, really brutal slate. Well, this time everyone's telling the truth. Like, this slate is pretty terrible, and and personally, just in my opinion, I feel like it's kind of a low confidence week. And when I look at projections, when I look at some of these optimals, it's like I'm not, like you said, like I'm just not loving my team here. I think if you love your team here, it's fool's gold, really. It's not this is not something that I'm super confident with. Just looking at optimals, and then on the other side of the coin, when I was looking at Sims, and I'm getting a bunch of Tyrod Taylor doubles in Sims, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, I get why it's giving that out. It's fine, I guess. Like, but it's nothing that I feel like jumping to the window wanting to really play. So it's a pretty tough slate when you're getting to a ton of Tyrod Taylor and CJ Stroud and Sims and Tua that we'll talk about. I'm getting to a ton of Tua also.
Yeah, to your point about Stroud, and I want you to hit on cash games before we do our game by game. We do our tiers. Of course, we go for about an hour and 25 minutes until the next grouping comes in. The GPP Final Takes show of Neil and Erik and Jordan. They jump around 11 o'clock or so on the East Coast. But you did mention Stroud, and for me, I think Stroud's a really good fade in tournaments if he's going to be one of the more popular quarterbacks. I think right out the gate, I think he's bad chalk in tournaments. I understand why he would be landing in some cash lineups. I just don't love the spot there against Indy. Indy's pretty tough defense. I know there's no elements, so that's one positive as far as throwing the ball this time of year in the dome. But that Indy defense is pretty solid. It's gotten better with the addition of Sauce. Stroud coming back from his concussion. He was out for multiple weeks. I think he was out 2 or 3 weeks or so, maybe 4 weeks in total. You consider the game he was knocked out in. Obviously, Davis Mills filled in really well for the Texans. But, I don't want to say definitively, but very, very likely, Tim, I'm not going to have CJ Stroud on my main spy team, my main single entry teams. And I think he's probably going to get pumped up a little bit too high. And I don't really know if he's that good. And I think there's some interesting pivots around him. I say interesting. I'm not saying good because I don't think anything's good on this list. It's different degrees of meh. But yeah, you want to give me a quick little rundown as far as cash games. Are we playing just for the block, if nothing else? Are we playing CJ Stroud in cash?
Yeah, I mean, I think you basically have to do it this week. He's $5K on DK. He is 6,800 on FanDuel. He's the cash game quarterback on both sites. Like, it's pretty gross, but I think that's just what we got to do on the slate. I think if you really don't want to, I guess Trevor Lawrence at 5,400 is okay as well. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much CJ Stroud. Lawrence, I think, is okay. I think Jacoby Brissett is all right as well. But I think that you should be showing up to cash games with CJ Stroud today. So he's a core cash beast. And then Devon Achane at 8,300. He's like 100% a core play across both the major sites. He's definitely going to be in your cash bill today, 100%. RB2. Some optimals like the Blitz are giving out Kenneth Walker. I kind of prefer Breece Hall. I think a case could be made where you could play Christian McCaffrey as well. But I mean, Christian McCaffrey on FanDuel is the cash game play at RB2 at 8,600. So over there, he's a way better play. But I personally think it's Breece Hall as your RB2 over Kenneth Walker, but it's pretty close between those two guys. Like, you could certainly play all of Achane, Walker, and Hall in cash, I think. But that's definitely some running backs to consider there. Wide receiver, JSN, 9,500. I think you should be prioritizing him in cash games, and then kind of like a value wide receiver. Adonai Mitchell is kind of, I guess the chalky piece this week.
You like it more than Higgins and Mechie?
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, you can go to Jaden Higgins if you want at 3,900. That does give you a little bit of correlation with CJ Stroud as well. So, I mean, I guess that's all right. He is $300 more. Yeah, and then Mechie. I mean, it's close between those two, right? I mean, it's really those three are really, really close together. So I think it's Mitchell. I might go with Higgins though too. I don't know. It's really close between those three.
I was thinking the weather for the Jets is not great for Mitchell, just because the winds should the wetness, I suppose, make it a little bit trickier for balls getting thrown downfield. But I'm not necessarily saying that would chase me away. And there's just not a lot of the overarching point is the names you threw out there kind of confirm it. There are some good names up top, obviously, but like the mid-tier is not spectacular and the cheapies are not spectacular. It is a slate where we have some of the best plays. Of course, like quarterback, I guess it's just Josh Allen standing, by himself in his own sort of tier. And I don't know if he's going to get played at all because of salary reasons. Certainly, if you're playing tournaments, I guess you consider him because he's got a chance to, like it wasn't that long ago. We had 6 touchdowns, 3 and 3. And we do have Jonathan Taylor. It's just not, it's hard to get to him. We do have CMC. It's not the greatest spot. You did mention FanDuel did give him a bit of a discount over there. He does project better on DK for all the catches. He'll probably rack in, especially considering the conditions there. He probably gets 6, 7, 8, 9 dump offs in Cleveland. We do have JSN, we do have Puka, but again, beyond that, there's just not a lot of depth. And tight end, if you want to touch on that, Tim, it's the first week where I think it's the first week where it's just not like an auto click where we're like, oh, okay. Trey McBride, he gets 1,000. Now Marvin's coming back. He's more expensive. The cap's a little bit tighter. Are you playing McBride in cash? Probably not, right? You're probably not. It's tough.
Probably not. We did get an interesting question in chat. Like, can you pay down double 2 spots at wide receiver to play McBride? Probably not in cash games, but I don't mind that for GPP builds because 7,800. I personally think Trey McBride's an 8K player. So, it's like, I don't think that this is quote too expensive here. It's like, I don't think it's bad. I just, if we're just purely discussing cash games though, I don't think we're going to be playing it today, but I love doing that kind of build and single entry or GPP stuff. I think that we're going to be playing Kyle Pitts or Aranda Gatson in cash games. So one of those two 4K guys, 4,300 for Gatson, 4K for Pitts. I think that's probably going to be your cash game guys. I don't mind Brenton Strange either at 3,700. I think he's an okay play as well. But you're probably just going to go with Pitts today.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, by the way, as far as McBride. I think he's priced correctly. It's just a matter of making him fit and how much he hurts the rest of your team. But he could also beat the field by, 10, 15 points at tight end. And I don't think anybody would be shocked if that happened. And that's a nice lead. It's just kind of making that happen for the build around him, I suppose. Bobby, general thoughts as far as a slate before we dive in and do our tiers game by game. You kind of gave a little bit before, but are you going to be well over, well under? Are you taking big stands? Are you going to spread out? What is the general, attack mode for this slate for you?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning heavily on like these Dolphins pieces, Devin Achane, Jalen Waddle, where we know it's super condensed. Like I kind of said at the top, that's what those are the offensives that I'll be targeting. I like Tim's call on Breece Hall. I feel like he's probably the better chalk running back. Kamani Vidal at 5,700. Don't mind him versus Raiders rush defense. Yeah, it's a tough slate here today. I would say Kyle Pitts looks like he's going to be my highest owned tight end.
Is that good chalk? He's kind of chalky.
Wow. I'm surprised to hear that, Bobby.
That's not a Bobby play.
He seems like a terrible play.
But I mean, like that's when I was saying there's bad chalk out there, he was one of the guys I was kind of talking about. Now I'm not saying he can't get there. I know the blitz likes him. But when does Kyle ever pick? When does he ever get home? And Kirk Cousins ain't getting any younger or more spry. But
Yeah, there's no way. I have to bump him down. Mason Taylor, I think, is an interesting. I know you probably can't play him in cash games, but
No.
like I think he benefits more from having Tyrod under center there. So yeah. Interesting slate, boys. Interesting slate.
Yeah, I like the Vidal call, and all throughout the week, people were expecting Hampton to come back, and the window was open for him, and it's not happening. But I think I don't know if the field's going to adjust, but maybe Vidal's kind of coming late here. But I like that call because big time home favorite. Chargers are one of my favorite teams on the board, and if I'm not playing some sort of Herbert stack, and the tricky thing with Herbert, of course, is there's 4 options, right? McConkey, Johnston, whose floor is literally 0. We've seen he's very JMO. He's very much like JMO, but also he has the ability to get loose. I think you guys mentioned Gadsden. Keenan Allen's kind of the quote unquote safe one. It's he really has to get in the box probably twice, at least once, to fully pay off. But if you're not going with a Herbert stack, I think Vidal is pretty appealing. What a 10-point home favorite versus a Raiders team that might be the worst team in the league, possibly. I think they're more vulnerable to the air than the ground, but we probably can see Vidal. He's one of my favorite running backs on the slate, and I'm not sure if the ownership stuff is fully adjusted. Okay. Anything else going on in chat? Anything else we should say here, Tim, before we dive in and do our tiers?
I should have at least mentioned Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
I think he's somebody who's definitely pretty interesting today. And 7K on FanDuel, I think, is a really nice price over there. 6,800 on DK is good too. I should have at least mentioned him in the conversation for cash games. I don't think I'm quite getting there, but if you do, I think that's a pretty solid play.
Okay. Check out the Discord channel. Is anybody get correct in one? Somebody guessed Tiny Lister, which is a funny guess because that's the guy from that's Debo from Friday, the actor. And then somebody else guessed Debo Samuel. Yeah, I see what you're doing with the clue. Friday. It's not Jim Brown. It's not Patrick Kane. Is Tiny Lister a superstar? I guess he in the world of film to some degree. It's not Troy Aikman or Giannis Antetokounmpo or Mike Singletary.
How did Patrick Kane make the guess?
I don't know. I'm not. We can ask. But I'll tell you, the person who guessed Patrick Kane, that's IBC, is on fire this week. He's taken down 2 of our games this week. So there's probably some good reasoning, some good thought process.
Is he your brother? He's your brother?
I'll tell you this. I think I probably have enough pull around here at this point where if I wanted to juice my brother up with a free premium, I could just say, hey, hook my brother up. Probably. I haven't done that before. I haven't tested that.
Means you don't let him do it. Don't let him do it.
So I wouldn't need to create this whole fake facade, like this a rigged game.
I wonder if I have that type of pull.
I don't know about that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Tim definitely does. I know Tim's got more.
Tim gets pull for sure. Yeah,
definitely.
Tim's still waiting for a RT T-shirt from like 4 years ago. I think. I don't know.
I've gotten one hoodie in 5 years. It's not bad.
To be fair,
one shirt. Yeah, I have one shirt.
Tim doesn't have like an address. He's off the grid. He doesn't tell everybody where he's at. So
I have an address.
Maine isn't even like a real place, to be honest.
Maine's a big state, and it's hard to track him down. Okay, not Aaron Rodgers as well. Some names being thrown out here in the Discord. We'll drop a second clue momentarily. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's play the game. Oh, you guys don't know today's tiers category. I made it yesterday, and today's tiers category. I've been watching this Chad Powers. You guys are aware of Chad Powers?
No.
Well, Chad Powers it's based upon the Eli Manning skit. I think Manning and his company and Peyton Manning, whatever their production company's called. I can't recall what it is right now off the top of my head. But they produced this. They're behind it. It's on the Hulu. It's a 6-episode TV show. It's essentially what if Miss Doubtfire was a football player? You're aware of Mrs. Doubtfire?
It's absolutely hilarious. It's a hilarious show, fun concept. The only thing is that it's like egregious that they call it a season of television, and this is more issues with the streaming era than it is the specific show. But it's not just because it's 6 episodes. It's a half season of TV. It's
3 hours. It's like 3.5 hours, maybe. Yeah.
It just doesn't conclude. Like it doesn't. It's a half season of TV, and we don't know when a season 2 is coming. So I
assume one's coming.
Who's in it? Is it the guy with Sydney Sweeney? Sydney Sweeney's.
It's Glenn Powell. Who's an absolute.
Powell,
yeah. Who's a superstar? It's a completely absurd premise, but if you don't ask too many questions and you just have fun with it, it's fine. It's a fun watch. But what it inspired me for today's tiers, is I power ranked made up sports franchises, made up sports teams in the world of television and movies. So similar to like the Gotham Rogues from the Dark Knight Returns, where Hines Ward was on that team. You saw them for just a second or so, I suppose. Similar to the Rockford Peaches. I guess they're actually a real team back in the day. But that is what I power ranked. Made up sports franchises in sports movies and sports TV shows. Let me know in chat what the best name is, what the worst name is. Tim, does this category make sense to you? You understand what I'm saying?
No. I'm actually trying to follow you too, Dean, for once, and it's making no sense.
Why is it not making any sense?
Time on your hands to like think of this.
Well, somebody's got to prepare for the show, Bobby, and it's me. So I prepare for the show. So today there are, maybe it'll make more sense when I actually give you the names. How about that? Maybe it'll make more sense. These are actual sports franchises, made up sports franchises in the world of a movie, in the world of a TV show. And again, I was inspired by Chad Powers. Does Chad know what I'm talking about?
I wonder if the Chiefs from Slapshot did make Dean's list because
somebody knows what I'm talking about. I've never seen Slapshot. I know that's egregious. I'm supposed to have seen it. You're supposed to watch that at some point, but it never was something that
I've only watched like bits and pieces of it too, but it's like in pop culture, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, I know the Twins. I've seen it before. I can picture, like, I know what it looks like, but I've never actually watched Slapshot. But all right, TJ, did I explain that? Did that make sense to you when I sent it to you? Do you understand the category? I think it makes sense to TJ. I feel like it does.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. Somebody's with me. That's most important. Okay. So the number one team name in our made up teams was the Myrtle Beach Mermen, which of course is from Eastbound and Down. Kenny Powers rocked that jersey in the minor leagues. Everybody loves basketball, right? Who doesn't love basketball? Remember the Milwaukee Bears?
I do remember it. The basketball was an interesting flick, I would say.
Your mom didn't squeak.
I don't know if it should be that high. Like
Milwaukee Bears, it's a good name, good logo,
dude.
I just like that you call it a flick, Bobby. You don't call it the pictures.
Yeah, the pictures.
And Average Joe's right in the middle. Average Joe's that just works out perfectly. Do you know where Average Joe's is from, Bobby?
Yeah,
you've seen this.
Dodgeball.
Yeah, there you go. Tim, does it make sense though?
Michigan Tropics, or that was a bad name for a team. I don't know.
Well, the Flint Tropics is from Semi-Pro. Will Ferrell's team.
Yeah, that's Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan Tropics.
Yeah, and that was not a real team. That was a made-up team.
No, I know, but why are they? It's just like, yeah, I think you could have had some better. The Chiefs should have been on this.
I gotta figure. I had a hard time for the 4 spot. To be fair, I couldn't quite find like a team that's not great, and the list is not spectacular. I could have went like Bad News Bears or something like that.
What about the Anaheim the Mighty Ducks wouldn't count, right?
Well, they became real, right? So the movie came out before the franchise, though. But I did consider them. Tim, does this category make sense now that you see it visually?
Not really, Dean.
Why is this so confusing to you?
No, it's okay. I don't think I've ever heard. I've heard of the Milwaukee Bears and the Average Joes. I think that's the only two I've heard of.
Have you seen Eastbound and Down?
I don't think so.
Oh, you got to put it on the list, Tim. It's spectacular television. Yeah, you gotta fire that up on the HBO. And the reason that inspired me is the made-up team in the world of Chad Powers is the South Georgia Catfish, which is, I guess it's kind of a joke, I suppose, because they're trying to make it as terrible as possible. Gregorius the Wise makes a good point. The Colorado Rockies are not a real franchise, so I probably could have put that there. Yeah,
That's
theoretically,
true.
the Jets are a fictional franchise. Yeah, I could have with that joke too. Yeah, and which, by the way, some terrible like real names like Metropolitans is the name of the Mets. Like that's intimidating. So be afraid of. Just they've always been called the Mets, so we don't question it. But imagine if a new franchise was called that. Like, who thought of this? Okay, so that is our board. The South Georgia Catfish in the 5-hole. We're gonna throw some teams in some tiers, and we did the coin toss backstage. Tim won the coin toss. He's going to go first.
Wins it every week. I've never seen anything like it 13 weeks in a row. But
yeah. What is
You're due, Bob. You're due, Bobby. You're due. Don't worry.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I like going second.
Yeah, there's probably an advantage to going second.
There's an advantage to going second. Yeah.
And you get to go last because there's 10 games, and Tim starts 5 and you start 5. First game we're going to talk about. I guess one of the better games, at least one of the better teams in my estimation, if nothing else, the Cardinals. The Cardinals at the Bucs, 44.5 is the total. Some West Coast to East Coast, kind of sort of West Coast Arizona. They are 3.5-point dogs here at Tampa. Baker Mayfield expected to give it a go. Bucky Irving expected to be back as well. Carter expected to play for Arizona. We're getting Marvin Harrison back. Of course, Brissett has been phenomenal for like a month and a half. Michael Wilson has, been spectacular in the absence of Marv. Is Marvin going to muck this up? Is he going to ruin this? And Trey McBride is more expensive, and maybe he loses a target or two with Marv being back. Who knows? We shall see. Tim, Cardinals, Bucks. Where do we want to place these teams on the board?
I am going to put the Bucks in the. I got to remember these tiers now. I know nothing about these things. All right, I'm going to put the Bucks in the Flint Tropics tier. We're getting Bucky Irving back, but that's still going to be a 3 running back backfield here. So I really have no interest in any of the running backs for Tampa Bay. I do think you can get to Emeka Egbuka as a one-off here. I'm a little bit worried about Baker Mayfield here, so I'm not getting to any stacks here. So it's just going to be Egbuka as a one-off. I suppose maybe you could use Tez Johnson as a one-off also, but I'm certainly not going to be playing any Baker doubles here. So I think the Bucks are going to be in the Flint Tropics. Cardinals, it's Marvin Harrison's back. That might muck up things with Michael Wilson. I was kind of hoping to play Michael Wilson again this week, but now I don't think I'm going to. But I still think you can in GPPs. You can obviously always play Brissett with Trey McBride. You can always play Trey McBride just as a one-off. We talked about that at the top of the show. That's a different way of building lineup construction this week. I think you can get to some Brissett doubles here. I'm going to put Arizona in average Joes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm also concerned about Baker, and maybe that's going to, run me away from ownership, and also new players coming back. So I'm probably not going to do a ton of Tampa. He's dealing with that shoulder, and Godwin kind of working his way back, Irving working his way back. Three-headed monster, if you want to call it a monster, as far as the RBs. I just don't know where to go with the Buccaneers. But you tell me, Bobby. Do we agree? Do we disagree with the placements? Average Joe's right there, smack in the middle for Arizona, and Tampa just below, hanging out with Will Ferrell in semi-pro, the Flint Tropics.
Yeah, I agree with Tim's analysis on Tampa. How much I love from Tampa, I guess Egbuka would probably be the one-off that I'd consider. Arizona, I'm going to bump up to Milwaukee Bears. Just because, they are relatively condensed, like I said at the top of the show. I know they get Marvin Harrison back, but Brissett's looking to McBride. He's looking to Harrison. Michael Wilson will probably work in more. I'd rather be over on Jacoby and McBride if people are going to be paying up for Kyle Pitts and Gadsden. 7,800, like we talked about with McBride, is probably too cheap. So for me, I really like Brissett to McBride. And then you can rotate in these receivers if you're stacking them up. Just thinking off the top of my head, how I would rank them. I'd probably have Marv ahead of Michael Wilson. But yeah, I'd be getting to not always running the double, but I think you can definitely rotate these guys in. I don't love them. I think the better play for me is just Brissett to McBride and call it a day. Brissett is 5,800, right? So I think that's very reasonable price tag with the chalk QB in Stroud being 5K. It's only 800 more. Tampa hasn't had the greatest secondary. McBride is just a vacuum in terms of receiving targets and usage in this offense. He's probably underpriced. So, yeah, going to bump Arizona up to Milwaukee Bears.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to agree with Bobby. I do like Arizona a little bit more than Tim does. I don't like Harrison. I still, if I'm going to pick between Harrison and Wilson, I will stick with Wilson with what's been working. There's also some kind of negative coach speak on Harrison. The coaches don't seem thrilled or optimistic about Harrison being great this week. They didn't really seem to be glowing about his prospects going forward, but we'll see. And they're essentially the same price. Wilson's actually cheaper, so I prefer Wilson to Harrison. And I also think playing McBride if he's going to be single digit or 10% owned on a slate that doesn't have a lot of good plays, I understand it kind of mucks up the rest of your lineup to some degree, but I want to be over the field of McBride, and also Brissett. I definitely prefer Brissett over Stroud, who's probably going to be more popular, and over T-Law as well. So
if Harrison wasn't playing today, I was going to 100% put them in the Milwaukee Bears tier.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't really disagree. If anything, Arizona has to go up one. So I kind of like this, but it just kind of that whole Harrison situation just mucks things up for me. I mean, I'm not saying that it's just another player out there.
McBride losing targets to either of these guys though. It seems like McBride's just gonna get peppered regardless.
Maybe still gonna know.
I still think McBride's fantastic. It's more Wilson I'm worried about.
We have the second clue. TJ dropped the second clue for the people. Sometimes it pays to be watching the screen. It is Africa. So Friday and Africa. It is not Eli Manning or Dikembe Mutombo or Chad Johnson. Some more guesses coming through in the Discord. Yeah, get yourself week free of RG Premium, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, NBA, PGA, MMA. Did I miss anything? LOL, all the sports, all the bells, all the whistles, the optimizer, the SimLabs, everything you get for free for a week. Doesn't cost you anything at all. And we are
Did you say NHL?
Did I neglect NHL?
I'm just saying I didn't hear it. So if we could just say it again.
And Tim, what team are you a part of? The NHL team?
Part of the projections team, Dean.
Yes, I guess you're all over the place. You're kind of all over the place doing different things, but I know you like to focus. A lot of your focus is on the NHL stuff, and yes, you get NHL as well, which our projection team is spectacular, including Tim. TJ.
Tim is on every single team except for UFC.
Why not UFC, Tim?
I don't know. I never watched UFC. I have no issue with it. I think I've played 3 UFC slates in my entire life.
Yeah, that's about what I played.
I actually won the 222, one of the slates that I played.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you watch the fights or just kind of wake up the next day?
No, I didn't watch.
Oh, look at you! You don't need to watch. You took the projections and took down the 220, and you retired from UFC. That's it.
That was it. That was it. I was done.
You dabble in the UFC streets, Bobby?
UFC is one of my better DFS sports, according to my Roto Tracker, which I was looking at last night. I will say, I haven't played it in a while. It's just a tough time on Saturday nights. I do like it a bunch. Watching it, I used to really like watching it, and then I seen some guy's knee bone come through his leg, and I was like, I'm probably not watching this anymore. Too violent.
It's a really fun DFS sweat.
It is a really fun DFS sweat for sure.
I played 3 slates in a row where I had a fighter get late scratched, and I just was like, screw it, I can't do this anymore.
That's a terrible experience, and there's nothing you do about it. Yeah, that's I was going to say that too, and I don't know what the solution is, but that's obviously it happens too many times. And for whatever reason, they don't tell you until it's too late, right? I don't know why they withhold information, but yeah, that's a terrible user experience when that happens, and you're just nothing you can do. Do want to mention we're giving away a week free of RG Premium in the Discord channel. You could just go ahead and buy it, and right now is the best time to buy it. We still have our Black Friday sale going, It will be going all the way through to December 2nd. So you have a couple more days to contemplate, a couple more days to think about it. Our sale is essentially what we would, you could buy one sport a la carte. We're giving you the a la carte price for all the sports per combo, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, of course, MMA, PGA, all the bells, all the whistles, all the articles, the rankings, the tags, the lineup HQ, optimizer. First 3 months locked in at $74.99, which is a savings of $135. And then you would get the regular combo price going forward at $119 and change. So there you go. Have at it. Link in the description. If you do not want to make such a commitment, that's fine. No worries. Understood. You can get a 3-day NFL pass and access to everything you need to crush the slate, as well as the optimizer, lineup HQ tool, or player projections, ownership projections, much, much more. You'll get SimLabs NFL as well, which is the quickest, easiest, smartest way to build lineups, competitive lineups, in just a few clicks for less than $10 for 3 days. Have at it. Check out the links in the description. Okay. Anybody in the Discord get our? It's not Muhammad Ali. It's not Christian Okoye. It is not Karl Malone. And I did make it too easy. We already have a winner in 2. Shout out to Jacob Gerardo in chats. Winner in 2. We will play it out for fun, but we got a winner.
That's the first time winner.
I don't recognize that name, so there you go.
Shout out Jacob Gerardo. I went to high school with Gerardo.
Well, maybe they're related. Now the new conspiracy is maybe TJ gave him the answer. That's what happened here, obviously. And
because there was a girl in a year above me who I spoke to maybe 1 or 2 times. I got to get her relative that premium.
It just take once, that we can just 1 degree of separation, TJ. All right, Bobby, you're up 1-0. Next game, it's the Jags. The Jags and the Titans, 42.5 is the total. Jacksonville is a 6-point favorite here in Tennessee. Trevor Lawrence is one of the more popular quarterbacks on the board when you consider salary. We are getting BTJ back, for better or for worse. Brenton Strange came back last week, and he was good. He was really legitimately good. Speaking of good, DK was very good last week for Tennessee. I believe he got the double dip. Was that last week? It was in the last couple of weeks or so. He's one of those kind of sort of salary savers that is on the board, if nothing else. I've heard some touts talking about Cam Ward. He's been looking better since the absence, since they fired their coach, running a little bit more as well. And we're not sure how big the opportunity cost. There was questions as far as Iowa. He's good to go, as well as Chig. Chig's good to go as well at tight end. So probably cross off Gunnar Helm on your board. Bobby, Titans, Jags.
Yeah, I don't love Tennessee. I do think there are some pieces you have to consider, especially at the wide receiver position. Chimery, can't say his last name, not really sure how to spell it. I mean, his first name, I'm not sure. Chimery, and then, this is tough. I feel like I'm doing NHL. I'm Anor. 4,400 for Chimery. Ellick is 3,700. I think these guys at the wide receiver position are somewhat interesting based on their price and the fact that the slate is terrible. So outside of that, there's not, I don't want to play Gunnar Helm at tight end. Cam Ward is fine. I know he has played better. 4,600 for Cam Ward. I guess if you want, it's not something I'm really targeting. It would be more just the wide receiver value. And I'd put them in what's Flint Tropics makes sense. I don't like Cam Ward. Wide receivers are fine. Probably max one of them. Guess you could play 2 because of how cheap they are, but I don't really have a ton of interest there. And then Jacksonville can go right in average Joes. I don't like Trevor Lawrence. I know people are going to try to make that work. Ryan Thomas and Parker Washington are fine. It would more be Brenton Strange for me at the tight end position who I'd have interest in. But if people are going to play this Jags team as a contrarian stack, I'm just kind of going to let them play them, I guess, for how they profile overall on the slate. I'm putting them in average Joes, but they're not a team I'm really trying to get to a ton.
Tim, any issues with Bobby's placements?
So I I like Tennessee a little bit more here. I'm going to put Tennessee in the average Joe tier. I do like some Cam Ward. DK at 4,400. I'm getting to 10% of him. 10% of him in Sims. He's really lumped together in with those cheap Jets wide receivers, so I think he's going to make for a really, really strong pivot there. Gunnar Helm, I'm getting him the fourth most out of any tight end in Sims right now at 2,600. I don't really care that Okongwu is back or projected to be back. I think Gunnar Helm at that price tag is completely reasonable. So I think that Tennessee warrants a little bit more exposure here. So I'm going to put them in average Joe. I don't mind Trevor Lawrence. I like Brenton Strange quite a bit. I like Travis Etienne at 6,500. I was hoping that he would sim a little bit better than he is. Currently, I'm not getting that much. I'm not getting overweight him in sims, but I'm really considering him in single entry here at 6,500. So I do like Jacksonville. I think I'm going to keep Jacksonville in the average Joes, though. I'm not going to get too carried away with it, but I do think I'm going to move Tennessee up one unit.
Just a note here from the hardest working man in the business, Christopher Jamino, who's on projections. He's talking about here in chat. For what it's worth, Helm is not going to be popping as much in the next run of Sim. So he's just kind of giving the spoiler. Maybe a little bit too hot considering the market he's talking about as far as Helm. So maybe he will be a little bit less popular. What was the last, what's the timestamp for the last run, Tim? Of course, we still have, 3 hours until kickoff, essentially. So more runs will be coming in. But I imagine that was from this morning.
I think it was this morning.
Yeah, so just be aware of that. But certainly, he's probably the best tight end at 2.6, I think.
Even if he's not popping as much, I don't necessarily care that much. Like I still think that he is worth consideration at that ridiculously cheap price tag.
Actually, let me ask TJ this, and I'll have TJ settle this also. But Helm is 2.6, TJ. Taysom Hill 2.7 on your Saints. Which do you prefer amongst those two?
Probably Helm.
Okay. Yeah.
I just feel like there's a little bit more ceiling there. Taysom Hill, you're just hoping he sneaks into the end zone once.
We could throw one, but yeah. I mean, you can throw in the end zone too, but
we've seen thrown 5 pass attempts this season? 4?
Yeah. Well, he's only been playing for a few weeks.
I know. It's just his role is nowhere near as big as it was in the past. He's literally just like running the ball now.
I guess this is the type of slate it is where everyone's just running to the window to play the Titans. It's just not interesting.
If that's the case, and is that the case? I'm not sure, but
I don't think that's
the case for sure. I think unless I'm behind.
DK is going to get played. Iwanor is going to get played, but I don't think anything extreme.
Yeah, DK is currently projecting 5%. I'll do a refresh on Iwanor since he was a late add. Iwanor don't have his projection up yet.
I think both Mitchell and Mechie will be more popular as far as the receivers in the less than 4K territory. And I think Higgins will be more popular as well on Houston as far as cheap receivers. I wanted to bring TJ back on. I'm sorry, TJ. I'm having you work. But I wanted you to settle this. I want you to make a call. Are we with Tim or are we with Bobby here?
I'm with neither of them because the Titans need to be even higher. But we'll go with Tim on this one.
Where would you put the Titans?
I would put the Titans in either Milwaukee Bears or Myrtle Beach Mermen.
Yeah.
Give me 30 seconds on why Tennessee should be 1 or 2 as far as tiers.
There are no good offenses on the slate. There are no good stacks on the slate. The best true stack is probably the Rams with Stafford and Puka and Devontae Adams, but it's incredibly expensive. And so for me, it's not about what they're going to do. It's what I can do with them. And so I'm not as heavy on them as I would have been if Iwanor and specifically Okongwu were going to be out, just because then I knew exactly who to play them with and I could load up and make variations. But still, I'm going to do a lot of Ward with DK and Iwanor and a little Helm.
Next game up, San Fran, Cleveland, 35.5. That is the lowest total on the board. Cleveland has the lowest team total at 15. I am going to pull up Ross' weather report as well. I'll read it once again. I'll drop the weather in chat for the people that are just arriving. But Roth has it at orange. I'm giving it a refresh, but I don't think anything's changed. Yeah, it's going to be dry. but 25-mile-per-hour wind sustained, wind gust around 35 here in Cleveland. Probably.
Can I address Joseph Garnett's comments in chat? I did not push the Titans. Just a heads up.
Okay, I didn't see the comment.
Throw that out there.
Thank you for holding the show. Bobby, well, you're gonna go second on this. This is gonna be Tim actually for San Fran and Cleveland. Again, lowest total on the board, 35.5. Not the greatest weather conditions. San Fran, I want to get involved in San Fran games because their offense theoretically has good pieces. Of course, they stunk was it last week, but in theory, there's some upside. Tough defense for Cleveland, but I like picking on San Fran's defense, but Cleveland's offense is the only way you can do it today. And I don't know how. I know Sanders had a nice screen pass last week, and good for him. But it's really, really hard to get excited about the Browns, especially when you consider the wind issues. Tim, what are we doing with San Fran and Cleveland today?
I'm putting Cleveland in the South Georgia Catfish tier. I don't see any reason to be getting to Sanders. I'm not playing any of the wide receiver core. Quinshon Judkins, I guess, would be interesting at 6,200. I don't hate that. But in terms of stacks here, I'm just not getting to any. So they're bottom tier for me. It's kind of the same thing with San Fran. Not going to be playing Brock Purdy here. I think CMC is the only play. I kind of had interest in Juwan Jennings at 4,700, even with Pearsall back, but I'm not going to deal with the win today. I know this slate's pretty ugly as is, but I mean, this game has like a 35 total. So it's just I'm not really interested in this. So
who was that, Tim? We just saw a Cat's extreme close-up.
That was Bella. Bella almost made a yeah.
We don't get Bella very often.
Yeah, Bella almost just X'd out my entire computer. I almost just shut down right there. So, I would have put San Fran. I guess put San Fran in Flint Tropics just because I think CMC is okay, but really I'm not getting to any of this game.
Yeah, so you got San Fran in tier 4, the Flint Tropics, and I believe you said Cleveland in South Georgia Catfish, correct?
Yep.
Tier 5. All right. Bobby, what say you? Any issues?
I'm in agreement. San Fran, I do like Juwan Jennings and McCaffrey as a decision point. That's the only thing, like, really putting them up in Flint Tropics with a 35-point total. Like, I wonder what McCaffrey could – like, the weather might be bad, but a lot of the offense might run through McCaffrey. So I think that's kind of – like, short area passes probably would be beneficial.
He might catch 10 balls.
He might catch that exactly, and on PPR, yeah, it's a difficult spot in terms of like playing McCaffrey. I'm probably going to be right in line with the field with McCaffrey. Juwan Jennings is another guy who catches a lot of short area targets, so probably be slightly over on him. But I don't want to touch Purdy. Not interested in Kittle. San Fran's fine in Flint Tropics. They have like the ancillary pieces are okay, but the full stack I have no interest in.
Bobby, you're a defensive guru. You're considered to be a defensive guru by some, by many. Do we like Cleveland and San Fran? Are they two of our favorite defenses today?
A defensive guru.
Kirk would always pump it up. You're a defensive specialist.
I'm over in the Browns versus Purdy. 49ers currently, I should probably have more, and I don't have any, so I'm probably going to bump them. But they are 3-6, so I understand like why I'm not getting any currently.
And their defense kind of stinks also, but they're facing.
Yeah, their defense kind of stinks. But it is Shador, and previously he's held on to the ball too long, and yeah. So there's at 3-6, like I think they're definitely viable. I'm just currently not getting to them.
I've gone back and forth on San Fran as well, for the reasons you laid out. Yeah, like San Fran's bad, but we think Cleveland's bad too. The weather might make things tricky to move the ball. Maybe a San Fran CMC stack is not the worst idea. You want to put those two together. They're kind of pricey, but you got to spend your money somewhere, I suppose.
The construction would be differentiated, right? So
yeah. All right, you guys were in agreement for that one, so we're gonna move on. It's 1-1 as far as the official score for those that are playing along. Those that have made their wagers. We don't endorse that, but if that's what you're doing, so be it. Rams, Panthers, 44.5. That's the total. Carolina Panthers, a 17-team total, a 10-point dog here at home. versus quite possibly the best team in football. Maybe the only good team in football. The Rams are good. I think we think the Seahawks are good, and the Lions stink, and the Ravens stink, and the Chiefs stink, and the Eagles stink. I don't know. I guess the Bears might be good too, according to some people in chat. We're not sure, but the Rams are good. I think we can confidently say the Rams are good. Possible future MVP. Well, previous MVP. Wasn't MVP not too long ago. Once upon a time, Stafford. I think he's going to be MVP again. At least he's the front runner. West Coast to East Coast here, Bobby. But biggest team total on the board, 27.5. How do we feel about the Rams and the Panthers?
Yeah, Rams for me are going right up in Myrtle Beach, Merman. Like Stafford today, like Stafford doubles. I think Puka's the tournament pivot off the cash game wide receiver in JSN. But I think Devontae Adams is right up there as well.
He's the pivot off Puka.
He's the pivot off Puka, yeah. But if I would be doubling Stafford, right? So it makes sense that you would just have both in your lineup. For Carolina, Flint, Michigan Tropics, like Tet's the only player I'm really getting to. I think Tet's super fine, especially in a trailing script. So I like Tet a good bit. But no one else really stands out. I'm not looking to play Bryce Young ever at this point. So yeah, that's pretty much Carolina.
So you got the Rams all the way up the top in tier 1.
The Panthers are in Tropics.
Okay, so we got Carolina Panthers in tier 4, the Flint Tropics. We have our first team in the first tier, Myrtle Beach, Merman. Tim, are we in agreement?
I'm going to put Carolina at the very bottom. I'm fine with the Rams at the top. I'm just going to put the Carolina at the very bottom. It's only Tet for me. Like, I have no interest in the backfield here. I don't have interest in any other wide receivers or the tight ends. Really, Tet's showing up in quite a few optimals right now. He's like a cash game consideration piece. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be my cash game, but like Bobby said, trailing script, but that's it here. I'm not going to be playing Bryce Young. So it's very similar to how I feel about Cleveland. It's just Judkins for Cleveland for me. It's just Tet for me for Carolina. So they're a very, very bottom tier team for me today.
Yeah, I'm not stacking Carolina either, but I might play some Tet, especially as a run back. So I will give the point to Tim. We're talking about stacks here. By the way, a very serious question.
But it is a run back. Tet is considered a run back in that stack, right?
But there's like nobody. I mean, you want to run back Dowdle? I guess you can. Nobody's going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Tet. Tet's the run back.
Yeah, but is that enough to jump him up to the 4th tier when you're playing
game stack? Yeah. Well, all the cash game plays seem to go in the Flint Tropics tier, right? Like the field cash game plays, it could be bad shot.
I think stacks got to be at least 2 players.
Yeah, they are. I'm talking about a game stack with Stafford, Puka, run back Tet, or Stafford, Puka, Adams, run back Tet. It's like my top team yesterday when I ran everything.
Are you playing more than one Panther in your pool?
No, it's just Tet, but it's a game stack. It's viable for the stat. We're talking stacks, right?
Yeah, I guess now we're talking semantics. So I suppose Tet is a good piece in a game stack, but we're talking individual teams. And individually.
Whoa.
It's semantics. Interpretation. Have you been playing the game differently all these weeks? Is that what's
I think we've been playing the game that way all these weeks. That's how we've been.
Is that why you're 1-11, Bobby?
I'm fine with being 1-11.
Yeah, I understand the point you're making. Just having a little bit of fun. I get the point you're making, but I'm still going to put Carolina in the bottom. But you're right. Like as a game stack. Yeah,
Jamino is agreeing with me.
Let's see. What is Jamino saying? I'm pulling up a Leggett is the new Kelvin Benjamin. That does not seem like a compliment. Jalen Coker is the one who Fs. Yeah, so if he's saying consider Coker basically. He says, well, Tet is, but whatever. Yeah, Tet you got to pay for. Tet is not going to sneak up on anybody.
Are you getting to any Stafford triples, Bobby? Like, can you add a Rams tight end?
I can look at it right now. Am I getting Stafford triples?
Yeah, Bobby, we had a very
not Colby Parkinson like 4%. Actually, I am getting to Colby Parkinson at 2,800. I am getting a Stafford triples.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am 35% on Colby Parkinson in Stafford lineups. I have 17 Stafford lineups. 6% of them are going to Colby. So I'm getting to some triples.
Yeah, Higbee's out, so they've been running less of their 3 tight end stuff. And there was, Bobby, a very serious question from one of our very serious viewers. The real broccoli boy wanted to know if you could play a Rams tight end. And I guess yes, you kind of answered it. You could play Rams tight end?
Yeah, for sure. Him and Yeezy are probably our 2 best guys, I'd say. Maybe I gotta give Yeezy his flowers too in chat.
We'll play out the string as far as today's Superstar Sunday. We already got the answer, but the third clue was coach. We'll just let them keep scrolling if you guys want to. If you didn't jump in the Discord, if you don't know the answer just yet and you're playing the home version, coach is the third clue. Friday, Africa, and coach. We did get a winner in 2, though. Shout out to Jacob there in the Discord channel. Next game up on the board, it is the Texans and the Colts. 44.5 is the total. CJ Stroud's going to be one of the more popular quarterbacks on the board. He's coming back from his concussion, hasn't played for a bit. It is indoors, so that's a positive, especially this time of year. No elements. Higgins, one of the cheapies that people are considering for to kind of make stuff work. Jaden Higgins projects pretty well. Also a cheap tight end if you want Schultz. Those are 2 of your partners for Stroud. Obviously, if salary is not a thing, you get to Nico Collins. Daniel Jones had an injury scare earlier in the week. I guess we're not terribly concerned about it. I'm not very sure, but I don't even like picking on Houston's defense as is. So I don't think I'm playing Daniel Jones. What were they saying? It was he's got a fibula. He's got a fibula and was there a fracture, like a hairline fracture or something like that? There's no injury designation for what it's worth. So I guess he's fine. But also Jonathan Taylor, best running back in football. Not going to get played a heck of a lot because of salary concerns and matchup. This is whose board is this? Who's opening it up for me? I think it's Bob's
board. Tim's board.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're getting to a ton of Houston stuff in Optimal's Sims as well. I'm just not that high on CJ Stroud here to like actually win me a GPP. It's pretty tough though because he's really, really cheap. It's gonna be tough for me to like figure out where I want to put him. I guess I could just ride the fence and put them in average Joes. Obviously you can get to doubles pretty easily here. Don't forget about Dalton Schultz. I don't think he's gonna get too steamed here. So 3,800 for him, I think is pretty interesting. So I'm gonna go Houston average Joes. If they weren't gonna be so highly owned, I might go higher, but given that Stroud's going to be so popular, it just like has to like bring them down for me a little bit. I just don't love them as chalk. Colts getting to a ton of Alec Pierce here at 4,800. Tyler Warren, assuming he suits up, I think is pretty decent as well. Jonathan Taylor always has tournament winning upside. I just don't love the spot, and that price tag is quite high. So I think I'm going to put Colts, I think, in average Joes as well.
We're calling Stroud chalk, and like obviously quarterbacks can only get so high. We currently have like a 12% on FanDuel, second most popular quarterback behind Stafford, and Stroud at 13.5% most popular quarterback on DK. Now that stuff might rise up a little bit. I assume it'll rise up in some single entry contests, which is why I'm probably not playing Stroud. Almost definitely. I don't like speaking in definitives just in case, but I do not expect to play Stroud in my single entry tournaments. Bobby, how do we feel about the placement of
I put the Colts in average Joes. Both teams average Joes.
They're both right smack in the middle here, Bobby.
I'm putting the Colts right in South Georgia catfish. Danny Dimes on the bad leg. Texans defense is okay. I know Indy's been great, but I don't really love the stack. Pittman and Alec Pierce would be the only 2 that I'd have interest in, and I'd very, very little interest at all, if at all. Not getting to Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor not getting to as well, especially versus this Texans front seven, and then the Texans are fine in average Joes. Yeah, like they're basically a baseline chalk team, which I'll probably be at the field on for pretty much every player. Probably slightly under on CJ Stroud, Nico right at the field. Jaden Higgins, I might be under the field, depending on like where everyone's coming in. Yeah, I don't really love the Texans, and I hope the field plays the Texans. But I'm starting to think that people aren't going to play the Texans because everyone kind of has the same take.
It's the who blinks first kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just always kind of sort of tricky to figure that out because, obviously the ownership it's not an exact science, but there's a lot of reasons why it comes down to a certain number, and then people react to that, and sometimes it changes because of the reaction. But I'm with you, Bobby. I don't think I'm playing a ton of Houston. Indy's a good defense, two good defenses. I'm going to be under in this game just in general is where I'm at. I know it's one of the bigger totals on the board at 44.5. I may be the third biggest or so because this slate is terrible. Buffalo, Pittsburgh, 45.5, and this is the next highest, at least by what I wrote down yesterday. Might have changed by a half a point or so. There's a group of it, Arizona, Tampa, the Rams, Carolina, Houston, Indy, all in that 44.5 territory. Okay, speaking of some terrible totals on the board, the next game.
Who got the point?
You guys agreed.
No, he didn't know.
No, he put the Colts at the very bottom.
You're right. You know what? I want to award Bobby just for his ambition. I wouldn't have put him straight in the gutter. I probably would have put him.
We're giving out points for ambition now. I mean, this is getting ridiculous.
I think that Indy should be in the 4 spot. So it's like I think you're both a little bit wrong. If that makes sense. You know what? If you want to, I'll bring in TJ. Let's bring it. Let TJ be the arbiter because I think it should be 4. So I think there was too much hate for Bobby. But I think a little bit too loud.
I'd have Colts in the South Georgia Catfish.
I knew TJ would agree with me.
TJ,
I knew he'd come back to the good side.
All right. So sometimes you need a tiebreaker, and ambition is like my third tiebreaker, Tim. Don't ask me about my other tiebreakers. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Who I like more, that's the first tiebreaker, actually. Atlanta and the Jets, 38.5 is the total. The Jets in the exact moment, that's fluid as far as how I like you guys. The Jets are 3-point dogs here. Tyrod Taylor is really, really cheap. He's got some really cheap pass catchers. If you want to make that argument, AD Mitchell and Mechie, you can build a fun lineup around these Jets for sure. Bijan Robinson, always a good play. You got to spend up for him. Breece Hall projecting to be one of the best point per dollar plays as far as running backs on the board. Bobby, the board is yours. Jets, Falcons, where are they going?
Yeah, the Jets, I'm going to throw them in the average Joe's tier. Tyrod's, I think, an upgrade from Justin Fields. And then, obviously, you have AD Mitchell, who's terrible, but we don't have a ton of value. And at 3.6, he just makes a good bit of my lineups work. I also like Mason Taylor. I think he gets a boost with Tyrod. But obviously, the Jets, with an 18-point team total, aren't a team that I'm rushing to play. So that's why they're finding themselves in the average Joe's tier. And then Atlanta, I like Bijan. I'm supposed to like Kyle Pitts according to like my sims and my projections, but I just don't like Kyle Pitts, especially with Kirk Cousins. Tough spot. I'm going to put them in average Joe's as well, but they're not. It's mainly those two. I don't want to play. I shouldn't even put them in. I want to put them in. I'm going to put them in Flint, Michigan Tropics. So the ancillary pieces are fine, but just as a full stack, I don't want to stack Cousins. And yeah, Flint, Michigan Tropics for Atlanta.
Ross, injury report. By the way, not injury report. Ross, weather report for the Jets. A steady light rain early, likely in the kickoff. That rain should clear for a bit. Then another round is likely lately in the game. That probably means later in the game. Likely lately in the game. I'm assuming that's later in the game. It's wet, but it's not a true downpour, and it's likely not an all-game thing. Winds stay fairly light, 10 miles per hour max, so that's not an issue. It's a slight bump down to offenses for some generally slick conditions, but I don't think it's a massive issue. Tim, how do we feel about Bobby's placements?
I have nothing to add in terms of Bobby's placements here. That's exactly where I was going to put both these teams. Like I said at the top of the show, getting to a ton of Tyrod Taylor doubles and sims, which is kind of gross. But I think it makes a ton of sense. Like you can go Mechie and Mitchell and play Taylor, and then you could go like double spend up at wide receiver. Also, you could go like Puka and JSN or something like that. Like, I think that's an interesting way of playing this slate. So I don't mind it here, and it's really for Atlanta. It's just Bijan. I have not Pitts is fine, I guess. Pitts can be in your cash games, but I'm probably not going to be playing him in single entry. So it's really just Bijan that I'm considering. So I'm fine with Atlanta and Flint Tropics.
I like Tamino's comment in chat. Kyle Pitts is a psyop.
Might be.
Meaning you don't want to play him?
No, I don't want to play him.
Yeah. So, TJ, you're going to be on later, but I feel like, and I think you talked about this on the Blitz show as well. And this is one of TJ's moves, not to give away his moves. He tells you his moves, but you love this nonsense. You love terrible quarterback with two terrible receivers, and just have fun around it, right? So I'm assuming you like the Jets today.
I will say that I don't need them to be terrible. I just need them to be cheap. But yes, definitely that is the thesis. That is something I do. Something I will be doing today as well. I have 30 tickets for the Millie Maker tonight. So that's kind of today. That's what I'm just playing. I'm playing 30 lineups. Yeah. And I have 6 of them as Cam Ward so far, and I'll probably have about 5 that are Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't say cheap is the first the first thing we're looking for. You're not necessarily looking for terrible, but many times there's a correlation.
Yeah. If I can double stack and both of the receivers and the quarterback are cheap, I'll try it. Like that's basically all I need, because then I'll be playing HN, Bijan Robinson, and one of Puka or JSN, and no, I know.
The last game of the 1:00 slate, it's the Saints and the Dolphins. 42.5 is the total. Miami's a 6-point favorite here against New Orleans. We're expecting Devin Neal to take over at running back with the absence of Alvin Kamara for the Saints. Devin Achane, probably the most popular big spend on this slate. I want to say, let me go ahead and check the ownership stuff. I think he's the most popular amongst the big spends. If you look at the lineup HQ tool, he's got the rainbow. I think every expert, I didn't go through each one of them, but he's got a lot of dots. Every dot is another person, Matic and Vanek and Neil and Beimfohr and Bobby Gomes himself, Noto, Ted Chopper, Christie. Everybody seems to like HN today. He's, you're probably your first big spend in your cash games, if nothing else. Tim, let's talk about it. Dolphins at home versus the Saints, 42.5 total. Where are we putting Miami and Nolans? Oh, Darren Waller's back as well. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, Darren Waller, he's 4K on FanDuel, 3,900 on DK. I think he's super interesting here. I'm getting to a ton of Miami. I'm going to put Miami in the Milwaukee Bears tier. I'm even getting to some Tua, which I know is disgusting, but this slate is disgusting. So that's just how it goes today. So I love Miami here. Yeah, obviously A-Chain is going to be like your primary core piece everywhere. He's the chalky guy today that I absolutely love. Getting to a ton of Jalen Waddle as well. So, I mean, I think like Tua doubles are firmly in play. I think you go Tua, Waddle, A-Chain right there. So Miami at home here with a 24 implied team total is on this slate pretty solid. So I think Miami's got to be one of your teams that you're playing into pretty heavily here. On the other side of the game, Chris Olave, I think, is a solid run back. Juwan Johnson, he's a little bit pricey, but I think he's okay. I think Taysom Hill, if you really just want to throw him in one cheap lineup or something like that, I think is it's really, really risky, but I don't hate it. Devin Neal, I think, is okay as a value running back. So not getting to any shuck, but I don't hate it. I mean, he's just one of these other mid-4 QBs that are just on the slate that I think are viable. So I'm going to put New Orleans in the I think I'm going to go average Joe for New Orleans.
Bobby, what say you?
It's funny. I would put New Orleans in Flint Tropics, but I know Dean, and I know they have to go in average Joes just because of how well I know Dean.
You're wrong, actually, just to be clear. I would have given you a point if you put him in Flint, but you've already locked that in.
All right, no, I can put him in Flint.
Whoa. You can't do that. You can't do that.
I don't love New Orleans. We'll leave them in average Joes. Be under on Olave, be under on Shuck.
What about Devin Neal?
Yeah, Devin Neal. Not too much Devin Neal today.
We love a cheap running back that's going to get some touches, but for some reason, he's not getting a lot of love today. He's not super cheap.
Bobby can run a better 40 than Devin Neal. Also, so he doesn't beat the Bobby 40 metric.
Also, Taysom, I think, really hurts. Like, he hurts you at the goal line. He can hurt Shuck. He can hurt Neal, etc. So I don't really know. Like, New Orleans isn't an offense I want to play. On the other hand, the Dolphins, Tua doubles, favorite stack on the slate. Myrtle Beach Mermen. Give me all the Tua. Give me Achane. Give me Waddle. Whichever one of these tight ends you think is viable. I would prefer, just looking through, I think I'd prefer Waller to the other tight end that was there in Miami. I lean Waller today.
Dulcich. I was going to be playing Dulcich. I think he was super, super cheap. I had a lot of interest in him. But now I don't think you could do it.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer Waller over Dulcich. I think a lot of people were going to play Dulcich, and now with Waller being there, Dulcich has found his way out of the player pool. So I'm really big on Miami. Let's throw them in Myrtle Beach Mermen.
I agree with Bobby. Miami's one of my favorite teams in the board.
I could add 2 points.
Miami's one of my favorite teams. I like Waddle a good bit. I made a Tua lineup earlier today. And, again, I don't love Tua, but, again, you got to play somebody at quarterback. And I think it's a really, really good pivot away from Stroud. And you pair him with Achane and Waddle, and you kind of have the Miami offense, basically. So I feel pretty good about that. And if you want to run it back with a Hill or a Neal, you can do that. I don't know if you necessarily have to force the run back. I got to bring TJ in here for a second because comment in chat, Jason Long says Pitts is the Vecna of DFS. I don't know who Vecna is, but I think Google. Apparently Vecna is from Stranger Things. Is that an insult to me, TJ? Who is Vecna? I know you're a Stranger Things guy.
Well, he's saying that Kyle Pitts has taken you and is hanging you upside down and is playing you. So he's saying that Kyle Pitts is the villain and you are the victim in that scenario.
Am I Barb?
You're Barb. Yes, you are absolutely Barb.
I know that reference. I didn't really watch. I watched the first 3 episodes of Stranger Things. It didn't take for whatever reason. Didn't hate it.
Is Stranger Things worth my time? I keep saying it's the great. I keep
saying say yes.
Greatest show of all time and all this stuff.
Well, I mean,
I don't think greatest show of all time, but it's in the conversation for like most important / greatest shows of the streaming era.
Oh, all right. Tim, you don't watch Stranger Things, right? I assume no.
I've never seen it. No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think Stranger Things is winding down. I'm pretty sure this is their final season, if I'm not mistaken. So, all right. We have, is it 2 more games to go? No, we have 3 more games to go. We have the 4 o'clock slate. Let's do it, boys. This is Bobby Gomes. It's the Raiders, the Chargers, 40.5 total. Most of those points going the way of the Chargers. They're 10-point favorites here. The Raiders team total was barely 15. They did fire their offensive coordinator, though, Chip Kelly, who was calling plays for, maybe he was off the Oregon, playbook. I don't know, but he was calling plays allegedly that were not in the Raiders playbook, which maybe that could have been a problem. Bobby Gomes, Chargers, Raiders, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to put the Chargers in Myrtle Beach Mermen as well. Really like Justin Herbert. I think it's great to pair him with Vlad McConkey at 6,300. I know QJ is boom or bust, but on a slate like this, I'd rather just hope for the boom side at 4,900. So don't mind QJ. I know Gadsden's going to be chalky. I think he's the one piece that I'm currently trying to get away from, which goes against playing your quarterback with the tight end, etc. Just to hit that ceiling. I don't really love Gadsden. Kamani Vidal is my second or third favorite running back on the slate, I would say. 5,700 versus the Raiders in a dome. We don't have to worry about weather on the slate. So everything about this stack just looks, in the context of this slate, very good.
Chargers you have in the one hole. Did you say where the Raiders go? I don't see them on the board.
Yeah, I didn't say that. I didn't do the Raiders analysis. Sorry about that, Dean.
Probably don't want to give it, but there's not much.
Yeah, the Raiders. I really don't have much interest in trying to find like where I have the Raiders. Yeah, Raiders are not going to be a team I'm going to be stacking. Brock Bowers on this like tight end slate where people are going to. There's a lot of bad chalk. I think he has relative upside. Probably going to be under on Genty. None of these Raiders receivers really stand out to me at all. You could play Trey Tucker. I would caution against it. It'd mainly be Bowers. The Raiders stack is not great. I'm going to put the Raiders in the bottom tier there. South Georgia Catfish.
Tucker had a real chance to do things last week. It just didn't happen, but he had a lot of opportunities for what it's worth. Yeah, I think it's an interesting pivot for Bowers at tight end as far as the spin ups. And Genty's fine too. I'm not going to be stacking up the Raiders, but I might have like an a la carte piece to run back with the Chargers. But yeah, all the way up top, Tim, we have the Chargers and the Myrtle Beach Mermen, and then the South Georgia Catfish tier 5, our worst tier, are the Raiders. What say you? Any issues?
I'm going to move the Raiders up a tier to the Flint Tropics just because I am getting to some Genty, some Bowers, and I don't mind Tucker. So I think there are some viable runbacks here. To completely agree that the Chargers are top tier, I have no issue with that at all. Getting to a ton of them in Sims. Love Herbert today. Love Kamani Vidal today. There's tons of different ways that you can play the Chargers here. So, yeah, Chargers are definitely top tier. But I am going to move the Raiders up one.
So, Tim, I'm just going to advise you. There's only one more game left. I'm going to disagree with you.
No, you skipped the Vikings.
Yeah, we have 2 games left.
We have 2 games left.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I was going to say you might want to consider using your challenge. You get one.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing someone's paying attention, Dean.
Well, we have
3 people on this show are not paying attention.
Who is Tim?
Tim.
I am Dean.
Tim's always on the ball.
I'm running the ship. What are you talking about? I have to.
Well, you said we had 1 game left. We had 2 games left.
Okay, one. I was throwing a perfect game, and I gave up an infield single. It's all right. We're still going to win.
That's more than it.
He's not going to win. I'm winning.
They hit his hard contact, Dean.
my third
I
baseman.
don't think that was an infield single, Dean. I think you just tried to skip an entire inning.
Yeah. First of all, Dean, you're in trouble. You keep making mistakes like that. We have Jamina watching, right?
Oh,
TJ
right.
in the background.
No,
you know, TJ is the up and coming.
You only gave out 2 clues for Superstar Sunday.
Well, okay. Since you mentioned it, I gave out a third clue, but TJ, you did not actually put it at the bottom. So
I'm in trouble too. I'm in trouble too.
You just called yourself out, essentially.
Damn it.
Yeah, and drop the 4th and 5th while we're at it too, because we already have a winner. So once we, the suspense is gone. But if those are still playing the home version, the clues will be scrolling now. I did vocally give Coach not about 20 minutes ago or so. Friday, Africa, Coach. 4 was maple syrup, and 5 is Bronco. So there you go. Friday, Africa, Coach, maple syrup, Bronco. We did get a winner. We gave away a week free of RG Premium earlier in the show. All right, and I am going to agree with Bobby. I got Bobby Raiders in the gutter. I'm not going to give the point to Tim. Point to Bobby. Bobby up 4-2. Let's go ahead and circle back for a second. Minnesota and Seattle. I shouldn't say circle back. It's also a 4:00 game. Revenge on the mind of Sam Darnold here. Yeah, Sam Darnold taking on his old team here in Minnesota versus a person named Max Brosmer, who's 4K. He doesn't move. I was looking at his college stats. I'm not going to pretend like I knew of his existence 4 days ago, but his negative rushing yards in college was not very promising. Tough defense to face, tough landing spot. There's actually a 12th man on the field for Seattle at all times. You could spend up for JSN as well. Certainly the best receiver in football this season. The question is, how many times does Darnold have to throw the football? Because will the Minnesota push back their 11-point dogs here? But like 80% of the passes go to JSN. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not really. We saw Kenneth Walker separate from Charbonnet, but Charbonnet did get the goal line carry, the precious goal line carry to get in the box last week. Bobby, Seahawks, Vikings, what do you got?
Yeah, Seahawks, Vikings. I'm in on Sam Darnold revenge. I think he should be vengeful. I hope he is. Like for them to side with JJ McCarthy over the way Sam Darnold played last year. I know he had that really awful playoff game, but I love Darnold today. I love JSN. I think they're an interesting stack. I think Barner at the tight end position is another one you can throw in there. People are going to play Kenneth Walker at the running back position. I don't love Kenneth Walker for what it's worth. He's someone I'd probably be slightly under on. The problem is like the double, I don't think is strong enough. Like I think there's better doubles with Miami and San Diego. So I'm going to put Seattle and Milwaukee Bears. And then the Vikings, I don't know what to do with the Vikings at this point. Probably in the bottom tier. Justin Jefferson has just been killed by JJ McCarthy. I don't really see any value in getting to any of these Vikings currently. None of the run. I don't want to play a dual-headed backfield. Not interested in the running backs. Not interested in the tight ends. Minnesota's in the bottom tier for me currently.
All right, Tim. We got Seattle in tier 2, the Milwaukee Bears, and then we have tier 5.
Oh, JJ isn't playing. Who's playing? Who's starting for
Rosmer?
Oh yeah. Max, come on, Bobby.
But it doesn't really matter though. I mean, it's still a really ugly stack. I mean, he's 4K.
Do the Sims like that at all, Tim? Because I can't. If he could run, I'd be interested, but he can't run.
Yeah.
I had the Vikings completely X'd out of my player pool, so I like that's yeah.
Yeah, I didn't that run that I did this morning. I didn't get to any of him. So
despite being 4K, yeah.
Despite being 4K,
because there's other guys at 4-ish that are I think better, like Tyrod Taylor.
That's the thing. This slate is like oddly loaded in that 4K range. Like, why are we bothering taking shots on him? Like you said, a road matchup. In Seattle, like I'm all set.
If you like terrible cheap quarterbacks, have I got the slate for you?
Right.
Yeah, Tim. Do we agree with Bobby? We have.
Yeah,
Seattle.
Actually, this is exactly where I was going to put both these teams. I know that I need points, but I have to be true to where I was going to put these teams. I do love Sam Darnold today. JSN Darnold, I absolutely love. Kenneth Walker is great at that price point. I think he's got an element of safety. I'm not sure if he's got a huge ceiling here, but I do like that the Seattle team an absolute ton, and Minnesota is definitely bottom tier.
I gave Bobby a point for ambition. I'm going to give Tim a point for respecting the game. Tim, he wasn't even trying.
How are you going to make it close? I'm just going to block this lad. I'm just blocking him.
I like that Tim respects the game. He gave his legitimate answer as opposed to trying to win the game, and taking a Hail Mary. All right. Bills Steelers. This is the last game, correct, boys? I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
Bobby's currently up 4-3. 45.5 is the total. The Bills are 3-point favorites here in Pittsburgh. I saw chat was talking about running backs for the Steelers. Of course, you can run on Buffalo. It's just a little tricky trying to figure out if you want Warren, if you want Gainwell. Good luck trying to figure out who to pair with Josh Allen. We're expecting Kincaid back. I thought I saw Shakir was projecting pretty well, but that's to me. It's just tough. There's just too many guys in Buffalo to love one of them. And you can always play James Cook, who I don't think is going to be terribly popular. Bills 3-point favorites here. Who's leading off here? My apologies. I don't recall.
Me.
It's Tim.
Me.
It's Tim.
I thought it was Tim. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tim.
Bobby's just going to block me. But if there's a way to get different on this slate, that's to pay up at quarterback. So I think Josh Allen's super interesting in GPPs today. Like, yeah, can he go? Like, this is not like your traditional spot where you can absolutely break the slate in most cases, but he could break any slate, and everyone's going to be paying down at quarterback today. So, yes, some people are going to be playing Herbert, but I think there's going to be a ton of teams that are going to be living in that 4K range. So 4 to 5K range. So I think Josh Allen is super interesting for GBPs. I really like James Cook as well. So I am getting to pieces here. Khalil Shakir, I think, is at least somewhat interesting at 5.5. So, yeah, I mean, I do like this team here. I like this. I do like this game as well. I am getting to some Kenneth Gainwell here at 5,300. I prefer him over Warren, but I would be getting to both in your player pool. If I was building out 20 or more, I'd be getting to both of these running backs. So as a stack, Pittsburgh is actually lower for me because I'm just getting to Gainwell and Warren. I'm not going to be playing any Aaron Rodgers, none of the tight ends. So as a stack, Pittsburgh is actually in Flint Tropics, and Buffalo is going to be. I think Buffalo is going to be for me in Milwaukee Bears.
All right, Bobby. You're up 1 as far as the scoreboard. This is the last game. Tim's placed Buffalo in the Milwaukee Bears, tier 2, and the Steelers in tier 4, the Flint Tropics. What say you?
Yeah, Steelers in 4 makes sense. I'm not going to block. I'm going to play the game, do it the fair way. I'm going to put Buffalo in average Joes. I do like the spend up to be different with Allen. Shakir stands out for me. I don't love James Cook on the slate. I know he's someone that people are going to try to get to. For me, he's not making my top 10 running backs currently. Going to try to be under on that. Dean knows exactly what he's doing too. He's definitely giving tips by the way. Yeah, there's no I think they're just an average stat. I get the case for paying up a quarterback to be different, but I'm gonna go where I'm gonna be forthright and put the Bills in average Joes where I think they belong, and the Steelers, Flint Tropics. Don't love the Steelers today.
I agree with you, Bobby, because we're talking stacks, and if I'm playing Buffalo, if I'm playing Josh Allen, I'm probably just playing him by himself. I'm probably just playing him a la carte and just let him get his 4 touchdowns. If he walks in for a couple and throws a couple, probably not to the same guy. Maybe it'll be Kincaid, but I just don't trust any of the Bills receivers, any of the pass catchers. So if I play Allen, it'll likely be a la carte. So that's not necessarily a stack. So I appreciate your ambition as well. You took a chance.
I think Shakir grades out really well for what it's worth.
He's fun. He would be the guy if I had to pick somebody. If I'm picking somebody, Shakir. But whatever. If I'm building a lineup and I have 5 left and Allen's in there.
Challenge.
There you go. Tim Smart.
It's a good move.
TJ?
Ding. Tim gets the win up in Milwaukee Bears.
What? Well, no, it would be a tie.
Wait a minute, TJ, you're paying down at every quarterback position to pay up at other positions. And then with Allen, you're paying.
They go up to Milwaukee Bears, not average Joes. Not the game. I meant this selection.
So wait, we're tied at 4-4. TJ, yeah. So who played the game with more?
You got to do your job at some point, Dean. I can't make all the decisions.
It's a tie. You just made it a tie. You gave us this predicament.
That's your fault. Because Tim challenged. I'm just following the rule.
Well, then the chat will decide. Chat will let us know who won, Tim or Bobby. Chat's got to chime in. Who played the game with more class and dignity? 4-4 is our final score, but we'll have to go to sudden death. I don't know what sudden death is. I'm
getting killed in the chat for this, not knowing Brosmer was on the slate. So
that's a good point. That's
definitely losing that one. Yeah.
I think that's enough to push it to Tim. You didn't know. You weren't aware of the existence.
I completely X'd the Vikings. I just wasn't playing the Vikings. So
I'm going to recap the board. I'm going to tell the people about today's superstar that we had a winner about an hour ago. It seems like you may have forgot. We have Crunch Time coming in soon. They're coming in after GPP Final Takes. Final Takes is the usual suspects. You got Jordan, Erik, and Neil. Power ranked fake teams, fake sports teams in movies and television. That was our power ranking. Tier 1, the Myrtle Beach Mermen. Of course, that's Kenny Powers' minor league team in Eastbound and Down. 3 teams up there in the top tier. It's the Rams, Dolphins, Chargers. Tier 2, Milwaukee Bears from the great basketball. That is Arizona, Seattle, and Buffalo. Average Joe right in the middle. Where else would average Joes be but smack in the middle? Tier number 3 from Dodgeball. That's Jacksonville, Tennessee, Houston, the Jets, the Saints. Tier 4, the Flint Tropics. That is Will Ferrell's semi-pro basketball team. Tampa, San Fran, Atlanta, and Pittsburgh. And then Tier 5, the inspiration for all of this was Chad Powers, the South Georgia Catfish, the worst tier, Cleveland, Carolina, the Colts, the Raiders, Minnesota. Today's Superstar Sunday, shout out again in the Discord channel to Jacob Gerardo. Took it down in 2 clues. Friday was in reference to this person's number throughout their career. They were mostly number 13. They were also number 10, but mostly number 13 for their career. They were born in Africa. They were born in South Africa. when they were older, I guess 18 months or so, they actually moved to, pay attention to this one, TJ, Regina, Saskatchewan. So, and then lived the rest of their life, well, at least until they moved to America. In Canada, that's why I said maple syrup. They were a coach. Not a very successful one. Cup of coffee for a couple of years with the Nets. Tier 5 was Bronco, the fifth clue. Nothing to do with the Denver Broncos. The Santa Monica, was that the team he went to in college? I think it was Santa Monica. Ran point. We're talking, of course, about Canada's own Steve Nash. Steve Nash, number 13, mostly in his career. All right, let's go ahead. Oh, I want to get your slate breakers, and then we're going to bring in the next group here. Tim, who is breaking today's slate?
We're obviously going to be getting to a ton of Miami here, whether you're playing A-Chain or Waddle, even getting some Tua stacks. But I really like Olave here as a run back to break the slate. So I'm going to go with Olave as my slate breaker.
Did I say Santa Clara for Steve Nash? What did I say? I think I was close, but if I didn't say Santa Clara, it was Santa Clara officially. Bobby, TJ, what do you got? Oh, look at that.
I'm going to go Tua. I'm going to go Tua to break the slate. Tua doubles.
I like the Tua call. Of course, TJ, you knew that Steve Nash from Regina or living in Regina when he was younger.
Yeah, he's technically from British Columbia. That's where he spent most of his life.
Yeah.
I played a tournament actually at his high school when I was in high school. But this game-worn signed jersey, had to show it off.
There you go. And that was that number 10? I didn't see because he was 10 mostly in his career, but
he was 13 almost his entire career.
Yes, I flipped it. He was 10 for the Lakers, I believe, 13 for Dallas, and 13 for Phoenix.
Yeah.
All right.
This was game-worn from his MVP season.
Does it smell?
It was washed.
Oh, all right. Fair enough. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and seamlessly bring in the next group. We got Erik. We got Bobby. We have Neil. It's GPP Final Takes right now. The things you learn sitting in the green room about Steve Nash and all sorts of random stuff. Jordan, why is there no, life is about expectations. People are expecting a jersey. Is that a T-shirt jersey? Is that a shirt?
No, it's a jersey. It's a Bama jersey.
Is it a jersey?
It's now a Bama jersey. I don't know how to show it more, but it's a real jersey.
Okay, all right. It just doesn't.
I think coming in here to the question, does it smell, was one of the everybody just glossed over that. Like that was I was sitting in the back room like there's no way everything's okay with this.
That's a fair question. He wore the jersey. He won MVP several times. He was known for hustling.
Yeah. I have Chris Carter signed jersey back there, but it wasn't game worn, sadly.
Okay, so there's no stench coming from that jersey.
No stench. No, just bought.
Chris Carter from Minnesota back in the day?
It's an Ohio State jersey, yeah. My brother works for a country club out in South Florida, so he's there all the time, and I was able to get him to sign it for me, so it was pretty cool.
TJ,
I will say it wasn't like he handed it to me after the game. My cousin used to play professional softball in Phoenix, and she was good friends with the head of PR for the Phoenix Suns, and so she got that for me as this is your Christmas present forever. This is all the Christmas presents you're ever going to get. Here it is. And I went, hell yeah.
Is there a certificate of authenticity and confirmation, proof of life? Yeah, we got all that.
Yeah, she gave me that in a signed ball with the authenticity and everything.
Neil, Erik, what's going on? How are things?
Can't complain. Wonderful. I was curious, Dean. I didn't know what the last team was on your board until you read it, I Googled it first. But have you watched Chad Powers? It looks like the worst television show that you could ever possibly It looks like a Key and Peele sketch, but they made it into a show. Yeah.
It's a preposterous idea. It's Miss Doubtfire, but what if Miss Doubtfire was a football player? The premise as to why he can't play college football anymore, as to why he's ostracized, why he has to do this, it's completely absurd because I don't want to give away what he did to become this villain, but Lane Kiffin will be knocking on his door at 6:00 in the morning recruiting him. He doesn't care what he did. I promise you, he would not be ostracized from he's the best player in college football. And for some reason, he did something goofy in the field. I'll let you. It's don't ask too many questions. It's 3 hours. It's 6 episodes, so it's easy to watch. It's pretty fun. TJ, Really loved it. But I would give it a tepid recommendation. If you like football, I think you'll like it.
Very funny, like in terms of the acting, the writing, in terms of how it is as a full television show, pretty weak. Like it's 6 episodes, but it doesn't conclude the story, and it's just like it's fun but not special.
Well, that's why there's a second season, TJ. Obviously,
they have not been. It has not yet been renewed for a second season, and
No.
so when they eventually
No
do
way.
it, that means it's still at least 2 years away.
renewed.
Dunk is telling me NCAA eligibility limit is the reason why. Okay, but he didn't go to the pros. He's good enough to be a pro quarterback is the point. And for some reason, nobody wants to touch him. And we don't want to get into some of the players that have done some things that are still playing in the pros. But I promise you, they would look the other way because he's a really good quarterback.
Also, forgot to mention, I bought an Eastbound and Down jersey for my brother for Christmas one of the years. It was so sick. Such a fun gift to give to him. He was huge into that show.
I was trying to tell Tim. Tim's never seen it before. You would recommend Eastbound and Down for anybody?
It's really funny. Yeah, it's a really good time.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a lot of fun. Very short seasons there too. If TJ might be upset, it's like 6 or 8 episodes, I believe, but definitely worth checking out. All right, we got to step aside and get out of here. Get out of here on behalf of myself and Tim and Bobby. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. You have a little bit less than 2 hours. Actives, inactives. Maybe you get some surprises. I don't know. 23 minutes as far as the 1 o'clock games. Beimfohr, it's all yours.
Guys, I can't think of a more fitting segue into this particular DFS slate than Dean breaking down Chad Powers and touting it as a high quality show that people need to go and watch. But welcome to week 13 GPP Final Takes here at RotoGrinders. If you've not joined us before, what we're going to kind of try to do, and this one's going to be a doozy, guys. We're going to try to hit the most important elements of the slate, right? Your final takes that you need to know to make your tournament lineups today. It's not necessarily going to be game by game. It's not necessarily going to go position by position, but we will do kind of a lot of that. We're going to kind of bounce around to the most important variables of the slate. And Neil, I have a really profound thing to say, and it would be the thing that absolutely every single person in the entire week has said, like, what is this? Like, exactly. There isn't much that really stands out. There isn't a game. There isn't there are some guys who are going to be popular who are kind of the best plays of this slate, but this is not one of those slates where I feel like, oh man, we got to really make a decision on this. We got to make a decision on this. It's kind of a free for all, but you still have to find guys you actually like to play. It's this weird, the chalk isn't that good, but I don't really have great alternatives either because there just isn't a lot to like. You're muted.
This guy. This is the first one on the show.
He didn't want to talk about it.
Exactly. I was just trying to avoid the question. Nobody really wants to talk about this slate. Let's be honest. I've talked about it enough already. I didn't look at the slate until Friday when I had to do the expert survey for RotoGrinders. I was like, all right, this, usually I can do this pretty quickly because when I start the expert survey, usually I have looked at the slate a fair amount going in. And regardless, usually I open an NFL slate and it's like, all right, that looks great. I really want to play that. I see things immediately. This is one, I open it up and I'm looking, and every game that I look at, it's like, this is grosser than the last game. There's literally nothing on this slate that pops. I'm kind of interested in playing San Francisco. Cleveland's got a good defense, but San Francisco kind of a fun offense. And it's like, oh, this terrible weather in that game. Yesterday we had finally the Cardinals. Maybe we'll get some value out of Michael Carter if Bam Knight doesn't play. Bam Knight is playing. It looks like just nothing has popped in this slate to make anything actually appealing. So I think this is a slate where we're all just kind of making stuff up. Just play whoever you want. If you like any angle on this slate, I think my big takeaway is if there's anything you see that you want to play on this slate, go ahead and play it because you're not really sacrificing much in terms of point per dollar projection or just projection generally. This is just a really gross slate where you can kind of play whatever you want without sacrificing much. There are a lot of slates where it's there are some, must plays, or at least in a 150 set, there are some sort of must plays in the 150 set because they just pop too much from a value perspective or projection perspective. This one is not one. This is the rare slate where there's literally no must plays, even in a 150 set, I think.
And I would also say that, because of that, like you said, the opportunity cost element is non-existent, right? Normally it would be look, I found this, whatever. This he may come up today, but you're I played Shamiri DK, right? I'm a genius, right? I got this $4,000 guy, in weeks past, right? I got this $4,000 guy. He scored 17 points. I'm a genius, and it's well, multiple other guys did that, and like, who really cares? But on this slate, you find that guy, and it's like, oh my God, that's a huge difference maker. So Jordan, I think, like what Neil's saying, that's really important to know, right? Like how deep into our bag can we get? I love getting into these sicko plays, right? The Mason Tiptons of the world, the Tyler Johnsons and all that kind of stuff. Those guys will come up today for sure. But I think like getting into that, getting into unique roster constructions, getting into some projections that we wouldn't normally play is something we can do today that maybe on a lot of slates we can't.
Well, so I love ugly slates. Like this is one of my favorite types of slates on the year because it is the idea of like find your edge, go do it, and then go further with it. There's the biggest, like if you hit a guy that gets to 40 on this slate, guaranteed probably going to be like in the money in some way probably. And on top of it, like that was a guy that must have. I feel like there's some slates where like if you get like the 35, it doesn't necessarily mean you had this significant, day. But this one, it's like all it takes, because there's a lot of studs on the slate. I think what makes it really ugly is also the fact that like there's no value. there's like Devin Neal is like the closest thing that I think at running back we have, where it's like he's a guy, yeah, he's out there maybe, like, he's gonna get some ownership at 5K, but like Rashad White's ruined with Bucky Irvin coming back and playing these sort of snaps, and then you have Kamani Vidal is probably the next on the list, but like Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason are in this nightmare. Obviously, I know, Neil, it's probably an ugly slate because you can't play JJ McCarthy. God forbid not being able to play him this week. But like Max Brosmer is going to – I feel like I know we were projecting him too. I feel like it's just going to come in a little more because of any Minnesota fan that just wants to be a homer this weekend because of how cheap it is. Like, it's the first time where I think playing Josh Allen feels good. Playing Matt Stafford feels good on this slate for the first time in God knows how long, because it's like he's phenomenal, but he doesn't run. And then I stare at a 6,000 Lamar, and I'm like, oh no, I want to play Matt Stafford. But like this slate, there's a lot of different angles. I think there's a lot of guys that are projecting the studs. You have to nail the one that gets to their ceiling performance, and for me, I think that one is Puka.
I love it. So let's segue into using Puka as kind of our stacks part of it. The running back stuff, I think, nothing is straightforward today, but we'll get into Achane, right, and Devin Neal and some of Bijan, etc. But I think nailing a lot of the weeks again, we would be like, well, what game are we stacking, right? We're playing this Stafford double and what bring back. But maybe today is also a little bit different, right? Can we just like single stack and like fit pieces around how we build out our stacks could be a little bit different today, I think, as well. Jordan is starting with the Rams. Neil, where would you, if you had to, just start your kind of quarterback plus whatever stack, where would it be today?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Rams is a perfectly good spot to start. They have the highest implied team total on the slate. Obviously, like we'd expect them to score a lot. I also do think that there is maybe something to the narrative of Matthew Stafford trying to win MVP, and Sean McVay wants Matthew Stafford to win MVP. So you keep seeing, like, instead of at the 1 yard line having Kyron Williams run it in, they're throwing a 1 yard pass to Devonta Adams. So that could continue. So yeah, I think Matthew Stafford is a fine place to start. Not the quarterback that I'm going to have the most exposure to. I think there's a lot of kind of interesting angles. The one that I keep coming back to, and it's something I've fallen for several times in the past, and it rarely works out. Trevor Lawrence, I do kind of like Jaguar stacks, gets Brian Thomas Jr. back. Nobody wants to play BTJ. I kind of think he's been injured all year. So like it's possible that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to get back to the stud that he looked like last year after a few weeks off. Like he I think he's actually been playing hurt, and part of the reason he's looked really bad is because he's been playing with a hurt. I want to say it's a hurt shoulder, something on his arm. So I think he's been kind of avoiding contact and just not looking great. So I'm hopeful that the few weeks off, he's actually been able to get healthy and he'll come back and be the full Brian Thomas Jr. that we thought we were playing coming into the year. So I'll probably get to some Brian Thomas Jr., but even if you don't want to go there, like you could just play it as though Jacoby Myers is the number one wide receiver here. I think there's a strong possibility that's still the case. Or Brenton Strange is pretty interesting to me, coming back last week, immediately seeing 5 targets in his return. So I think there's a lot of angles to playing Jaguar stacks against the Titans, who are fine. They're kind of mediocre defensively, and I think the Jaguars should be able to score and should be able to win that game. and I'm hopeful that it can be through the passing game. I also, I think you could play it either way with Sam Darnold playing against Minnesota. Is he going to be seeing ghosts against Brian Flores in that defense? Or is he going to, like, he's seen the defense plenty because he was on the team last year. Maybe he's actually able to get going against the Vikings here. Schematically, a really strong matchup for Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba, so you can just single stack it, or you can play a fun angle with Rashid Shaheed. Maybe has his first really great game with the Seahawks. A lot of ways you can play that one. So yeah, I think those are the places that I start. I'll throw in some Tyrod Taylor here and there. I'll probably get to a little bit of Max Brosmer. I'm not gonna like totally Minnesota homer it. It'll be probably like 5% Max Brosmer, just because he's 4,000, but not going to be a big part of my portfolio. And then just kind of looking at the high total game generally, like I'll get to some Josh Allen, some of these other plays, but yeah, those are kind of my targets at quarterback.
I will also add that I did not before. If you are in the chat, please bring as many questions as possible, especially today. We would appreciate the questions to not have to come up with Max Brosmer stack takes. If you have questions, we'll kind of bounce around and fit those in. I see your questions there. We'll hit those in a second. But Jordan, talk to me about this Rams thing. You are obviously our Carolina Panthers expert, so my ears perk up when you are attacking that defense, but also, like the MVP thing seems logical to me. You were also on the fact that, the Rams run game, inside the 5 is not very good anyway. And Devontae Adams is an absolute cheat code, right? At the goal line, you can add him to Puka. Is that your favorite stack? And then talk to me about some of your other kind of alternatives.
So the Puka, like Devontae Adams, it's really tough. It's just really tough to get to him at the 7.5 price tag. With Stafford, Puka, Devontae, it's just a lot of salary to allocate. I actually like going to the idea of like Parkinson or Ferguson at the 2.5, 2.8, because like they could catch a touchdown in this matchup. The Carolina Panthers, we're missing J.C. Horn. If you are a Panthers fan, you know what this has meant in years past. And in particular, I don't know if you guys remember the year where like all of a sudden the Panthers were just running the ball a ton. It was Tom Brady's last year in Tampa Bay. And we actually got to week 17 where the winner was going to host a playoff game. And it was like, massive game with the Buccaneers versus the Panthers. J.C. Horn got hurt the week before. Mike Evans goes for $175 and 3 touchdowns because we don't have a boundary corner. This is the same situation. It's the same DC. It's the same style of play that we have. We live in cover 3 coverage. It's what we've done all season long. They're going to attack it. And like the 49ers they had plays open quite a bit. It's just Brock Purdy couldn't throw the broadside of the barn because he doesn't have a strong arm. And J.C. Horn was making incredible plays, might I add, on that side of the ball. And on top of it, Treyon Morwig is out because he decided to punch Juwan Jennings in the no-no square there. So that was a pretty frustrating instant. I also think Juwan Jennings should be suspended for this nonsense he was pulling during the game. Nor here nor there. But it's a spot where Puka averages like 4 yards per route run against cover 3. He's done it years with Stafford. When you're playing cover 3 coverage, what has killed it is when you get the ball basically into that deep middle of the field and it's basically yards after the catch. Like these dagger concepts where you have a go route and someone running a deep in has been killer to these concepts. And that's why the McVays, the Kevin O'Connells with J-Jettas and different things. This is where Puka kind of stands out. Devontae Adams can do so as well. I don't really mind either. I just prefer Puka because I think 9K he's projecting more owned than he was earlier in the week, but I think there's going to be a decision point with him in JSN, and I would rather go to Puka than JSN. I think they're both really good plays. It's just the preference. And then on the flip side of it, I don't know if you guys saw, Dave Canales apologized for his play calling to the team. He legitimately held a meeting with the team and apologized for the game plan. And specifically to Rico Dowdle for not using him a ton. I think if you're going to get to this game, I don't mind the angle of Rico Dowdle because as wonky as the NFL is, it wouldn't surprise me to see the Panthers winning 13-6 at halftime because we get a fluke, fumble or whatever, and Rico Dowdle is controlling the ball and having success as a running back, and then Stafford has to play from behind.
I like it. The all the injuries and the what you want to call it, punch. It's just that's when you kind of know this slate is coming. JC Horn, Moehrig being out, the Rams. If there's one thing I've kind of learned over the last several days, Thanksgiving from Thursday and Friday, by the way, every single underdog won in all 4 of those games. We could have been rich, guys, if we would have just, had the foresight to parlay all of those underdogs. But nonetheless, like none of these teams are trustworthy. The good team, like the good teams, are not trustworthy. Except I do think it might be the Rams. If I had to pick, like you said, go to battle with one NFL team right now that's going to go take care of business, I think it's probably the Rams. And so you add in, right, some of the narrative street stuff, right? Like, let's go get Stafford the MVP. Also, I mean, he doesn't have to try to get Stafford the MVP with those 2 receivers out there against this defense. He could just throw for 4 touchdowns, like in the first half. Like, so I think that they stand out the most. It becomes a little bit of a tricky roster construction part, like you said. If you want to play Devontae and Puka, boy, it's getting rough. I think you mentioned, I just wanted to shout super quickly, you would be interested in playing Colby Parkinson, right? As like a punt tight end.
Correlate touchdowns. If you're playing Stafford, like I think you could play obviously Puka one off. If I'm not getting to like correlated with my tight end, I have a significant flag plan on Tyler Warren this week. But we'll get to that when we get to the tight end conversation. But yeah, he's definitely just purely correlated touchdowns to Stafford. I'd say you need 4 from Stafford to ship, because Josh Allen's going to be incredible as well.
He was another one who I was going to bring up, but I would just want to hit a BTTH in the chat says Rams West Coast team going to the East early. Those are generally a little bit of trappy-ish spots. He says Neil, Galaxy Galaxy Brain fade the best offense in football. Neil, or are they just too good I know not fading in 150, but if somebody's playing one lineup, is that crazy?
No, I don't think it's crazy. I mean, I can't remember who it was. That there was a game a couple weeks ago where the same thing happened, and I was super in on the West Coast team, and they fell flat on their face when people are bringing up this narrative, and I was like, I hate that people are bringing, like, I hadn't thought of it. It might have been that one.
Baltimore was terrible at the time, I remember. But Panthers are going from West Coast to East Coast on a short week. We played 49ers in San Fran, which is just, it's a weird one with that.
Yeah. That is interesting. So yeah, I mean it's an angle. I have never really played the West Coast. Maybe that's an angle that I need to start playing more, the West Coast, East Coast, because people brought it up and I was like, oh, they're right. Like should have faded that game that I did not fade. So sure, if in one lineup if you want to fade it, go ahead.
I also say like they're all expensive.
Yeah.
So like they can have a good game and not win you the slate just because of the right. Like if JSN outscores the Rams wide receivers, it's like cool, they were good, but did you want JSN instead, or do cheaper wide receivers and like HN and Bijan and whatever? It's a weird little quirk with them, though I think that they stand out a lot. I mentioned Devon Achane, another stack I want to talk about. Really, this game, I think I want to talk about. Not on a normal slate do I think I would be so excited for a Dolphins Saints game, but we take what the slate gives us, and I think this one. I don't know if it has definitely some of the best plays. I don't know if it's going to be the highest scoring game or anything like that. It is not two really super high powered offenses, though the Dolphins have been quite good. The Saints defense is bad. I do trust in Kellen Moore like enough to like score some kind of points in just about any matchup. So this one really stands out to me. It feels weird clicking those quarterbacks, but Neil, what do you think about Dolphins and Saints?
Yeah, I mean, Devon Achane, obviously, like the workload is awesome. Over the past 3 games, 19 carries and 7 targets per game on 70% route participation. He's like Christian McCaffrey light with the workload. It's not like a great matchup with the Saints in terms of like schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed per game. It's the 5th worst matchup, particularly bad through the air to running back. So not an ideal matchup for Devon Achane, but the workload is strong enough and he's a lot cheaper than Christian McCaffrey. He is going to be quite chalky. I will probably be, I would guess, a bit under the field at 40% ownership, but not like that much. He's obviously, I'm going to have a fair amount of Devon Achane. I think Juwan Johnson kind of stands out as the, potentially top receiving option on the Saints, and that is a really strong matchup for tight ends in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed. It's the 3rd best. I think somebody maybe in chat mentioned Darren Waller as a kind of a fun play. I think he was really good in the weeks that he was playing. Like, he was a fantasy monster. Nobody's been talking about him because I don't think any of us really knew that he was going to play this week. So suddenly he pops up random. Out of nowhere. Yeah,
he just had his practice window opened, and then we think he's going to play. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know he was even. So I will just say, Goat Huddle mentioned it in the chat, and he specifically said, Erik, are you ready for Darren Waller? I don't know if I told you guys this before. So obviously, you guys, I stream a bunch of best ball stuff over the summer, and I was streaming DraftKings 555. So DraftKings high stakes. On one night, I was streaming that, building a really, really fun team. Got to like the 17th round. This is later in the summer, and I hated Darren Waller. I mocked people for drafting Darren Waller. I was wrong, right? But I was like, this is ridiculous. Why would we ever draft this guy? And then I'm on the clock, and I'm like, you're like messing around. Like, do I want this guy? Do I want this guy? And I timed out and autoed Darren Waller onto that team. So that has lived with me. The team's almost advancing. So now I'm a big Darren Waller fan. Yeah. come back and help me out. But to be fair to Goat, he was messing with me, and he was good. He was genuinely good before he went out, and that was shocking. But does he step back into that? I don't know. If there's a slate to find out, it's probably this one.
Exactly. Like this, like it's so wide open, and nobody's playing him just because we didn't think he was in. So I think that is a viable angle to play. Reprep 2353S. I don't know why everyone is on Miami. New Orleans D has been decent. Yeah. It has been a decent defense. I have not looked at like splits, but I suspect they're a lot better at home than on the road. Like, this game being in Miami, I think certainly helps the Dolphins here. And the Dolphins have a 24 implied team total. So like, that suggests that they're kind of middle pack to upper half in terms of points expected for the Dolphins. So it's not like they're projected for 30 points or whatever, but like it looks like an okay spot for Miami here. But yeah, I like Jalen Warren. Waddle, sorry, not Jalen Warren. Devin H.N. Waddle, I think is like more like trickier for me because Waddle, like, in my mind, like before you look at the stats, it's like, oh yeah, Tyreek Hill out. He's been like doing really well since Tyreek Hill has been out. His like usage is not actually that great with Tyreek Hill out. If you just look at like how often he started, it's like over the past 3 or 4 weeks, like 7 times per game on like 70% route participation. It's like he's like no more than like DK Metcalf in terms of usage. Who's somebody I always give the example of, like, yeah, he's technically the wide receiver 1, but the usage is really not that great. Like, it's the wide receiver 2 on a lot of teams kind of usage. But he's gotten there several times. I think he's viable, but not a huge priority for me at 6,800. I think, yeah, again, Waddle, like he projects fairly well, but not a huge priority. Is there anybody else on the Dolphins besides Waddle and HN and Waller?
Malik Washington, but
Malik. I honestly have not given.
If you're stacking Tua, that's the only time you put that name in there.
Yeah, what's the route participation recently for Malik Washington? I mean, 57 and 65% is, yeah, that's fine. You can go there. And then on the other side, like Devin Neal, because he's 5,000, I think is certainly viable with no Alvin Kamara. Takes over that top running back role. Could be kind of a bell cow here. So I actually think Devin Neal is a fairly strong play at 5,000, and the ownership last I checked is, yeah, it's nothing too crazy in terms of ownership. So yeah, I think Devin Neal is an objectively strong play. And then Olave, if he is good to go, which I think the latest is that he's, I guess we'll get inactives in 1 minute or right now. But Olave looks fine at 6,400. Not a huge priority for me, but totally fine. And Taysom, if you want to go to Taysom, you can always like, I think I saw the line for him is like 7.5 rushing attempts for Taysom Hill. So sure, you can go to Taysom if you want to.
Dude, I don't know if you watched there again, which I don't recommend anyone ever watching these Saints games. And it was Saints Falcons last week, which is even worse. But dude, the Taysom thing. He's getting the ball. He got the ball, and like people are extrapolating Kamara out to more Taysom, and maybe that does happen. But he was awful. Every time they brought him in, it was like they bring him in at the goal line stuff. They bring him in for short. Like it was terrible. They're trying to do this. I thought Kellen Moore would be the one to be like, okay, I'm smart and like let's stop this gadget nonsense. Maybe it continues, but I kind of think that's a little. Somebody asked about Taysom earlier, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because I think it's pretty trappish. Now I could be wrong, and there's definitely upside, but I don't. It's a new coaching staff. he's not playing very well, frankly. Taysom, I think it's a little different than it's been in the past.
I cannot stand Taysom Hill. I also, as a person who recommended Tyler Shuck last weekend to people, Divine Diablo played with a club, and that dude is absolutely incredible for Atlanta's defense. He went out in their San Fran game, and then all of a sudden their pass defense was one of the worst in football because the person who replaced him is very slow. And what they asked this guy to do in coverage was just getting exploited. Divine Diablo with a club in his hand was just taking away so much in the passing game. And on top of it, you're right. They like Tyler Shuck would throw like a 30-yard pass to Chris Olave and get them to the 2 and then be like, nope, Taysom time. It's like, go out here. And then Tyler Shuck was running. Like, they could have ran RPO with Tyler Shuck. Oh my God. I hate Taysom Hill so much.
Yeah, it was brutal.
It is terrible.
I just want to add on the Devin Neal thing. He's probably one of my favorite plays of the slate. Neil mentioned, I thought, right, you mentioned like we open up the slate and you're like, okay, let's start the diagnosis. I thought we'd be like, oh, Devin Neal, like I got to decide about like 30% owned Devin Neal or something like it would be like him and Achane, right? But I put those two as my favorite correlation in the expert survey because they both have pass catching skills. It's like the game script doesn't really matter to me. I don't think Audric Estime is going to be the passing down back if something goes awry, and Taysom, whatever, he's not going to play the passing down running back, right? If the Dolphins do what the Dolphins are supposed to do here, Devin Neal had 7 targets last week. Alvin Kamara played most of that game. Tyler Shuck is a check down artist. Kellen Moore throws a lot of passes, and we know Achane has the passing down chops. If you don't feel comfortable with like Waddle or Waller coming back, or you like a different tight end besides Juwan or Taysom or whatever, I think you can get your exposure to this game and you can play both running backs in the same lineup. I think it's totally fine. It's honestly probably my favorite way to play it.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. Yeah, I was looking at like looking for his ownership number, thinking he was going to be at like 25% or something. So that's why I was like, kind of went from like, yeah, I think Neal is a good play to like, oh yeah, he's actually a great play because he's not projected for that much ownership. Yeah, Reprep asked if he is a free square. Like, I mean, you could look at it that way. Like, I think it's a viable way to play it if you want to play him like a free square. He's not projected like a free square. So like we usually when we're talking about free squares, it's like the guy who's just like, yeah, his projection is way too high relative to his price. But I think it's difficult to project him because we don't have any kind of sample size with him starting the game and finishing the game. But yeah, I think that's a reasonable way to project it for sure.
I promise, guys, I see the Cam Ward stuff and all that. We'll hit that in just a second. I want to do actives and inactives and the weather, because those are a couple of things that also will impact some of these conversations that we have. Actives and inactives. TJ said it. Everybody's playing. If there was somebody you thought was questionable, they're in. I don't see anybody that's not playing. Marvin Harrison even is back for Arizona. So it doesn't mean you can't play Michael Wilson. But if your expectation is another 18 targets or whatever for Michael Wilson, I don't think that is going to be the case. But yeah, we just talked about the Saints. Chris Olave is in. Bam Knight, as Neil mentioned, is in. Chika Conko is in. Elikai Omanor is in. Baker Mayfield is playing. The one injury that we should at least discuss, I think, super quickly, and Jordan has talked about this a little bit and alluded to it with Tyler Warren, is Daniel Jones is playing with a broken leg, which is like kind of great. I know like there's nuance, right, to fractures and stuff like that, but that's like an insane thing to hear someone say, like the quarterback's playing with a broken leg. The practice clips didn't look great for Daniel Jones, and they are facing the Houston Texans, probably the gnarliest defense in the entire NFL. So Jordan, I know you have a little bit of a take on this one. You don't want to talk about this Daniel Jones situation.
So the reason I love Tyler Warren here is this guy can play quarterback, get Wildcat stuff, and you watch Daniel Jones and you're like, he's not moving well. If they get into the red zone, I fully anticipate Tyler Warren being the quarterback because one, he can throw. He did it in college. Like as an avid college football DFS player, this guy was throwing touchdowns, running touchdowns, catching touchdowns. And when you just look at Daniel, it's like, okay, so the Texans secondary is elite as it gets. Like they are unquestionably the most dominant secondary in football right now. I know the Broncos are really good. Texans, I think, are at a different level from what I see week to week from that team with DeMeco Ryans. Their pass rush is incredible. You have a quarterback with a broken leg that is not looking very mobile. what are you going to do when you get to the red zone? Put in your tight end at quarterback who can throw, has that threat, and then just let him and Jonathan Taylor pound the rock. Like, it wouldn't surprise me to see it. I fully believe that he's going to be overlooked in this slate because, like, no DFS site can project him rushing usage or passing usage because that's just not something you ever project for tight ends. And I think in this matchup,
unless they're Taysom.
Yeah, Taysom's the only one that could get that. But, like, he's thrown the ball before already this year. He's gotten goal line carries. Now you have a quarterback with a broken leg. I think he's, like, the best way to play that game. And you just get him and a Jaden Higgins mini, and you're at, pretty low ownership. I know Higgins is a bit owned, but Tyler Warren's not getting played. He's under 10% this week. I think people are going to kill Gadsden's name because the Raiders are really bad, and that's fine. You can put Gadsden as your flex. I think double tight end is very viable this week because of how many bad plays there are. But just a mini stack of Tyler Warren with Higgins is kind of the way I want to rock this slate, just because I fully believe he's getting goal line usage, and we're getting a tight end playing quarterback. I will take my chances with that.
I love it. The chat was asking about who's Daniel Jones' backup, and no, I don't know that this matters. But Anthony Richardson is injured. Had a funny injury. Funny is not the right word. Had a unique. I mean, it is kind of funny. Maybe not like ha funny, but like it's funny. So it's Riley Leonard. He of Duke and Notre Dame. Duke ACC championship game contender. And Riley Leonard. Notre Dame quarterback as well. But if you the drop off from a passer, Tyler Warren might be a better passer than Riley Leonard. So I'm not sure that it matters. Riley Leonard mostly just a runner himself as well. So just something to keep in mind. But Neil, what do you think about this Daniel Jones stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm really getting to Daniel Jones. It's tough because this is like Daniel Jones has been good all year, and now I don't want to play him on the grossest slate of the season. But like, I mean, even Adam Schefter reported today, like he's probably going to struggle with lateral movement today against this super fast.
His agent was feeding Schefter stuff like he's going to look bad, please. Like calm the waters.
Still pay him, please. Yeah, like so it's a different angle than I thought Jordan was going to go to with Tyler Warren. I was thinking like they're going to get the ball out quickly, and who are they going to get the ball out to quickly? Probably Tyler Warren and or Jonathan Taylor. It's tough for me to be excited about it just because I think that defense is so good. So like how do you want to play this injured quarterback? But I think that is another case for Tyler Warren. And honestly, I've thought I'm going to play zero Jonathan Taylor. I might at least think about whether I want to play some Jonathan Taylor because, again, like they know that he's hurt. They don't want him to get more hurt. They have Super Bowl aspirations. Like they're probably going to try to get the ball out as quickly as possible. So I think that probably benefits Warren and Josh Downs probably a little bit as well. And Jonathan Taylor. I don't know that I'm going to play it at all with Daniel Jones just because, I mean, maybe they'll have success with it. I'm just not expecting a ton of success against this Texans defense. So honestly, I'm not playing a ton of anybody on that offense. I guess Jordan has talked me into at least playing a little bit of Tyler Warren, living a little, dreaming a little with Tyler Warren. Maybe I'll play a tiny bit of Josh Downs, tiny bit of Jonathan Taylor, but it's not an offense that I'm really getting into much.
I will also add that I think the Texans defense is a good, generally good play, right? If I put the Texans in a category to themselves in this regard, but like I've done this with like the Browns. It doesn't always work with the Browns because their offense can't move the ball, but with the Texans, it's like I don't know, man. If they're like 2,900 against the freaking Monstars, I think I would play this defense in DFS. It's like they get so much. They sacked Josh Allen 8 times, man. Like they can get home against anyone. When you get that kind of pressure, like turnovers can just come, right? And touchdowns can just come. If Daniel Jones can't move, that doesn't seem very good with this pass rush coming towards you. So, Tyler Warren can score his goal line touchdown. Give me a pick six or a strip sack fumble touchdown from the Texans defense. We need to pivot back. I know, Neil, you liked Trevor Lawrence and the intrigue of Brian Thomas coming back. A good matchup with the Titans. I know we said we'll do the weather. We'll do it after this, but this one is fine weather. Roth has this as green in Tennessee. But what about the Cam Ward side? He popped up for his best game of the season last week. Maybe he just needed his buddy, Xavier Restrepo, to be there with him out there on the field. But Chimere Dike kind of emerging into a decent little weapon. Cam Ward, the ball knowers will tell you that I was, watching some film studies of Cam Ward, that he's playing much better. He's also running more. They've made a point to tell him to run more, which is particularly notable for us from a fantasy perspective, that he's scrambling a little bit more. And then all of his stacking partners and stuff are cheap. Io Manor is back, to the Restrepo question. But what do you think about the Cam Ward side of things?
Yeah, I think it's fine. It is tough for me to like decide who I want to play him with, just given we get Restrepo back, we get Chigakonkwo back. So like some of the angles that I was maybe wanting to play, if we had some players out, it's tougher to do, because with Iamanar back, how much does that affect Chimere Dike? Gunnar Helm, like, still sort of playable, I think, but less so with Chigakonkwo back. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I'll probably get to a little bit of Cam Ward. He is projected for lower ownership than Trevor Lawrence at a cheaper price tag. So I get it. And it's a nice matchup with it's kind of a pass funnel defense on the Jaguars as well. So yeah, I think that it is a totally fine, reasonable play that I will have some of, not going to be a huge priority for me. And as far as like who I'm going to stack him with, I don't know. I guess DK is probably the best of the group. If you're stacking anybody with Cam Ward, I think you can go to Iamanar as well if you want to go to that stack. But it's again, not a huge priority for me.
I totally agree. I also think, like, on a slate like this, maybe in the Millie Maker or something, really large field tournaments, you need to play someone with Cam Ward. You're playing any like smaller field stuff, like, this is a wonky slate. If you just think Cam Ward is the reason you want to play Cam Ward, right? You don't have to force, like, you don't absolutely do not have to force it. Again, I think it's a little bit dependent upon the contest that you're playing in. But those are the kinds of things I'm thinking about on this slate, right? We'll talk about Josh Allen in a minute, where I'm like, I don't know, should I just take the points with Josh Allen at quarterback, right, and like figure out the rest? I don't have to stack him if I don't want to. Those are some of the things. I want to hit the weather though, super quickly. We'll hit some of you guys' questions and all that kind of stuff. Break down running back a little bit more. I mentioned Jacksonville at Tennessee. Roth has as green a light wind, but nothing special. San Francisco, Neil talked about this pretty bad in Cleveland today. He says the good news is that it's dry, but the bad news is that it's real windy. And I don't care that much if it's dry, if the winds are at 30 plus miles an hour for the game. No offense, Shador. And Jordan was just talking about Brock Purdy's noodle arm. That doesn't sound great in insane winds in Cleveland. So that's a game we probably won't discuss a lot. And people might ask why. That's why. Rams, Carolina doesn't seem too bad, but he does have as yellow some light rain, light wind. Atlanta at the Jets is yellow orange, so not quite as bad as Cleveland, but worse than some of these other spots. He just has a slight bump down to the offense. It's going to be a bit slick, not as much wind, but we might get a pretty darn heavy rain, which again, Kirk Cousins and Tyrod Taylor in a downpour doesn't sound awesome. And then we just have a couple of yellows, which I won't go into super detail, but maybe a little wind in Pittsburgh, a little wind in Miami, and that is about it. So there is that. Let's talk about, let's hit some of these questions. Marier, the most recent question, Neil, do we trust the Bucs? Baker Mayfield is playing, kind of shockingly playing. That looked bad last week against the Rams, but Baker's playing. Do you trust the Bucs with a banged up Baker?
Not really. I think Baker has not looked good in the past when he's played through injury. I think he's playing through injury now. We get Godwin back, so it's a little bit more muddled if you want to go to Egbuka. I just don't know who to stack really with Baker. I'm going to be playing that game through the other side more. So I guess I don't trust Baker. I'll probably have some Bucs bringbacks on Arizona stuff and just hope, like, hey, what if Godwin is suddenly running 70% of routes and sees 8 or 9 targets at his price tag, he'll look good. Or you can still go to Egbuka as kind of a target hog for most of the season. You can go to Kate Otten. The running backs is tough to really get there. So I guess the big answer is no, not really. I don't trust it at all. I'm not going to go to it a ton, but I'll have some bringbacks there with my Arizona stuff.
What do you think about Baker and just the overall, like, right? It doesn't have to just be Baker, but Marier asking, like, what do we? Because the Bucs are in kind of one of the better spots, frankly. of the day in terms of an offense like expectation. But if the quarterback is hurt and they're, we're bringing Bucky back into the mix and Godwin, like kind of, it's weird, right? They're probably going to score some points, but what do we do with it? Because it's all murky.
The price points are just what deter me. They're just too pricey to buy into it, uncertainty wise. Like this slate already is fully uncertain itself. It's just it's like I would rather go to like a Jaden Higgins and get to my Devontae Adams than try to fit in the Emeka Egbuka at his price tag or different things like that. Because like he's just in a mid six. It's like Egbuka versus Waddle, Olave, some of the other guys, and then they're in a three-way committee probably. Like it wouldn't surprise me to see Bucky get 10 touches, Rachaad White get 7, and then Sean Tucker get 5 because Sean Tucker's played his way onto the field very, very explosive back there. So, and then Cardinal side, it's like Trey McBride's 7'8". He's 300 more than Devontae Adams. And I have my sights set on Tyler Warren. So it's like I will play Devontae Adams and Tyler Warren over playing Darnell Mooney and Trey McBride. Like that's kind of the trade-off in that regard.
I know, Neil, you mentioned liking the Arizona side a little bit better. What are you doing with the Cardinals?
Yeah, it's really tough. So Jacoby Brissett, I think, looks good. I think both running backs are viable. I'm like sort of still intrigued by the $4,200 Michael Carter, even though Bam probably going to get more of the work, though. Just the price difference and the coming in with an injury again on a slate where we don't have a ton to get excited about. Last week it was Bam Knight, 10 carries and 5 targets, so led in both of those categories. But Michael Carter actually ran more routes, 45.8% route participation, and saw 3 targets along with 5 carries. So I do like kind of both the running backs, but in particular for me, it's Carter with that passing game role on the Cardinals. But what I really like is Jacoby Brissett. I am going to be overweight on Trey McBride, which seems crazy at 7,800. I'm going to pay up and get to not like I'm not going to play him in like 40% of my lineups, but I think 15% maybe will be enough to be well over the field on Trey McBride. And then it's the toughest part is what are they going to do at wide receiver with Marvin Harrison Jr. returning? I suspect my best guess is that Marvin Harrison Jr. returns to that wide receiver 1 role instead of like Michael Wilson holding onto it after being targeted so much. Just he was also looking good with Jacoby Brissett before his injury. Like it was like, oh wow, he's really elevating Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think people might still want to play Michael Wilson. I think that's totally fine. You can play it like, hey, he's been awesome. Maybe he's still the wide receiver 1, but I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. was good enough and has the pedigree, and he's the exciting young receiver that like the fans are excited about. So I think it's still probably Marvin Harrison Jr. as the wide receiver 1, and probably comes in and sees the full workload. So mostly I'll be going Brissett doubles with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, or just singles, honestly. But I'll mix in some Michael Wilson. I'm less inclined to play Wilson and Harrison together.
I like that. The kind of cannibal, right? If Marv does take that back, then you really don't want a $6,000 Michael Wilson. But if Michael Wilson is still Michael Wilson, or if I think there's also an outcome where they mentioned Gannon mentioned that Marv needed to get his wind back. That was the only thing. Like he's healthy, but
right.
You have surgery and you sit out for a couple weeks, you lose your football game shape. That maybe he doesn't run all the routes, which then would be good for Mike. Right, if he runs half the routes or something like that, that's half the routes. Michael Wilson is back to being what we saw the last couple of weeks. So I don't know. I have no idea. Like genuinely no idea. Yeah, what's Marv might not know. The Cardinals might not know. They might be seeing what happens in the game, but that's how I would think about it. A question. Jordan, since I know you like the Rams and we were just talking about Marv, Jeffrey asked, because they're basically the same price, is T-Mac or Marv this week?
I'd lean T-Mac in the stack with the Rams, but if you're just one-offing, I think Marv is probably where I'd go. Like, I think that the spot with T-Mac is tough because I've seen the Rams take away number 1 options a little bit this year. And if they choose to do so, they can. Like Emmanuel Forbes, we made fun of him because of AJ Brown bullying him. But this year, this dude has just basically looked like the cover corner that he was drafted to be. And they are going to bracket T-Mac. And Bryce Young this past weekend and the Panthers rush rate is what I expect the Panthers rush rate in the first half to be like 65-70%. Like I do not think the Panthers will be throwing the ball very much in this first half. We are also missing this is the first time this group of O-line has ever started together. We are down to our fourth string right guard or third. I don't remember his name. I don't even know his name, but he took his first snaps last week during the game. So it's and the person who's starting over him, I know PFF grades, whatever. Chandler Zavala had a 38 PFF grade, and that guy was the backup to him. So I don't know. I don't know if he's any good. I hope he's good, but it's a nightmare over there.
I do always love that where like as a casual observer, as a fan or whatever, you'll be someone playing really poorly, and they'll always want that guy benched. And maybe it's just because my brain is broken now. My brain always goes to now. Think about how bad the guy behind him like as if these coaches whose livelihoods depend upon the people that they're coaching to do a good job. They see the guy who's worse than that guy, and they won't put him in the game. Like, think about that, right? That's like it came up a lot with Shador and stuff, and I know that's a very different.
This weekend with JJ McCarthy, it's like the same. We're going to see Max Brosmer throw for 350 and 4 against Seattle, and then the Vikings fan base is going to have to sit there and be like, so we hate this kid now.
Yeah, what do we?
No, I'll love it if Max Brosmer's great. I don't care. I'm not that big of a I don't care that much about JJ McCarthy.
It's Trey Lance and McCarthy or Purdy again.
That's what it would be. So great. I'd take it. If the Vikings have Brock Purdy, I'll take Brock Purdy on the Vikings. 100%.
If you got to delete a couple of tweets or something like that to get Brock Purdy, on your team, exactly. I think that'll be just fine. I'll just be interested to see what all the 9, the silly drama that has come around from all this. He is a weird dude. JJ McCarthy. I respect it, but man, what a goofball he is. Carolina guy asked me specifically, FanDuel tournament, stacking Cam Ward with Shamiri DK, do you need a bring back? Here's what I'd say, both macro level and micro level. I'll start with the micro level. No, you do not need a bring back, especially on FanDuel. It's so touchdown driven. The thing that's really nice on DraftKings about the game stacking stuff is you get into the kind of course, the touchdowns from the shootout, but you'll get a game script that's like, oh, this dude who projected for 6 targets got 13 targets, right? Because the game got a little wonky or whatever. On FanDuel, it's that helps, but you really need touchdowns. So I don't worry quite as much about it. I would also say, as Sims and a lot of that stuff have become more prevalent, it's also very hit or miss on if that actually projects really strongly. The game environment matters. How often our opponents are doing it matters. The types of players that you're playing, right? Like a Shamiri DK in a game stack versus a Devontae Adams in a game stack are very different things. And so the general thesis for me that I've learned and had to grow and evolve over the course of the last couple of years is you don't have to force these things. I know it feels like we should, right? It's easier because it's like a shortcut for our brain, but you don't have to force it. And I'll say on FanDuel specifically, you really don't have to force that bring back. And I would definitely not force it in a Jaguars Titans game. Though I actually kind of like that game stack, generally speaking, whether it's ETN or Brian Thomas or Brenton Strange or whatever. I think there are some options on the Jaguar side. Segue from there, talk about some running backs because I mentioned Travis Etienne. I think he's in play on this slate. We've talked a little bit about the Jaguars passing game, but Jordan, I think you like Etienne a little bit here on this one, a pretty poor Titans run defense, but just talk about him and kind of some of your favorite running backs.
So the Titans are just the yards before contact. It's one thing with specific running backs that I just need to see. And this is one of the matchups where they give up a lot of yards before contact. And Etienne is a guy that can break off that big touchdown run when he is given some room to run. Etienne also kind of just dominated the work last week, which was really frustrating for as a person who played him 2 weeks ago. And I had to kind of get into the habit of maybe Tutin's taking a little bit of the work. And no, he did not. I could see Tutin kind of returning to 2 weeks ago usage because it seems like Jacksonville is just kind of different game plan every week, but this Titans run defense is pretty poor. And then on the flip side, I think you could run this back with, one of the Titans pass catchers. Elik Amanor coming back just kind of killed any hope of Xavier Restrepo kind of getting a ton of targets and stuff because dude had 6 targets on 20 routes last week, which was pretty funny to watch because Cam Ward just wanted to go his way and he found him for a few big completions. And so it's just simply a Shamiri DK with Etienne mini as my part. I just can't buy Trevor Lawrence. And also the Brian Thomas thing. If he returns to full health, that's phenomenal. I think he has the same wrist issue Tyreek Hill had last year, where it's like he's playing through it, but it's just nagging him every single game. And I feel like I burned myself probably 5 weeks in a row, just consistently chasing like a 6'3" Tyreek Hill and just being like, he's gonna do it, he could do it, and then he just never. Like, I think the best I got was like 16. Like, I feel like Brian Thomas can still do that, but it's just like this is a slate I'm comfortable with it. But if we had more options on this slate, I would be like, there's no chance I'm getting here.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Not the same thing, but feels like me with chasing Jameson Williams every week, and then he does it on a damn 3-gamer.
Dude, I wanted Wicks. I literally said on the Thursday show, I was like, Wicks beats man coverage. I just can't trust that he's on the field.
Right.
And so mad.
And little did you know, you just play all the Packer, the love double. Man, what a Thanksgiving Day slate that. But shout out JMO. Just do it. Can you do it when I flag plant you and not these zeros? Last time I flag planted JMO, he got 0, and then he goes for 30 the next week against the Packers. Neil, let's talk about perfect Carolina guy, running back. Maybe not rankings, but just talk a little bit about kind of how you're approaching the running back position. We talked about ETN, but we've hit on Achane a little bit. He's obviously like, if there was a chalk decision point, like what do you do with this one like really chalky player? It's probably Achane, I think. So is that still a big priority for you? And then let's talk about Bijan, Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, whatever. There are some alternatives also.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start on DraftKings since I've already got it pulled up. So I suspect I'll be underweight on Devin Achane. I think he's fine. Like, again, he's projected for like 40% ownership. Maybe I'll have 25% Devin Achane. That seems fine to me. Breece Hall, nice matchup with Atlanta. They've been kind of a run funnel. The defense is worse overall recently. I think Breece Hall, again, is fine. You can play him in Tyrod Taylor stacks if you want to. Seems like a reasonable play. Again, I'll probably be under on the chalk in general, which is honestly different from a lot of slates where it's just like, I'll eat the chalk at running back, because usually the chalk just projects so well point per dollar that it's like, I'm just going to eat the chalk here, get different elsewhere. I think this is a unique slate in that the chalk isn't that good. Like, it's playable. I think again, Achane, like, it would be pretty risky to full fade Achane. Again, he is kind of Christian McCaffrey light. But it's not like Breece Hall can't lose. He's on the Jets. They're 17.75 team total for the Jets. So like Breece Hall can certainly fail. Kenneth Walker, 5,300, nice price tag. He has taken on more of the work in recent weeks. I think he has 27 carries over the past 2. Just like he's for a while was kind of splitting with Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet getting all the goal line carries. We've seen Kenneth Walker kind of take over as the running back one there. So I think he is totally fine as chalk. Kamani Vidal, reasonable at 5,700. Nice price tag, has a nice workload. Not last week, but generally has a nice workload. Bijan against the Jets, who I've been waiting for the Jets to kind of become a Bengals level defense after some of their trades, trading away their best players, including their best run stuffer in Quinnen Williams. They haven't been as bad as I expected them to be. Like, Derrick Henry didn't really crush them. Trevion Henderson, I think, scored 3 touchdowns, but otherwise was not like super efficient. I still kind of want to target it. So I'll have some Bijan. And then, we talked about ETN and Tootin. I like both of them, probably not in the same lineup, but I think both are intriguing in their own ways. ETN, just because he has the ability, like we saw last week, to just like look awesome and look like a top running back in the league. He looked like it frequently early on in the season. I think he can easily break a slate, especially against a team like the Titans. But I agree with Jordan that like Tootin kind of came out of nowhere 2 weeks ago. So no reason that he can't just come out of nowhere again this week. And we don't know to what extent the injury impacted him last week. His highest snap share of the season was that game 2 weeks ago, 32% of snaps in that game. And that was before he got hurt, and that really hampered him. So it could have been even higher, could have taken on more. And now again, they're playing against the Titans, where I think it could just be a bigger pie for the running backs. So I think both are viable. Usually, like I love it on a showdown slate when the pie grows, you play both the running backs, like we saw on the Friday game, which I didn't play the double bears too much, sadly. But I do think like this is a spot where it's, the pie grows a little bit. Who knows which one of them is going to end up paying off their salary, but I think both are pretty good bets to pay off their salary. With Tootin being obviously just like large field, I wouldn't play him in a smaller field contest. It is just a tournament dart throw, to be clear. ETN, I think in smaller fields is totally fine. Christian McCaffrey, I think he's expensive, 9,300. I still kind of like him despite the price tag, despite the weather. Like I don't think the weather necessarily hurts Christian McCaffrey like it would some, because he's being targeted so short. He can just rack up 10 receptions, and that goes a long way on a slate like this. So I do like him. James Cook, I think, is great at 7,600. Not actually projected to be very chalky, and I think that's a game that could go. I mean, they should be able to score some points. They don't have a huge implied team total on the Bills, but they're pretty likely to score on the Steelers. So James Cook at 7,600 looks good. Devin Neal, as already mentioned, looks great on this slate. I like Kenneth Gainwell. To me, it's like between Gainwell and Warren. Give me Gainwell, who's been targeted significantly over the past couple weeks, and he has like 19 carries over the past 2 weeks as well. So like he's getting the carries, he's getting the targets at his price tag, $1,000 cheaper than Jalen Warren. Gainwell looks pretty great to me. Yeah, I'd say those are kind of. I already mentioned Michael Carter as a contrarian play I like a bit, who gets targeted. So yeah, I've mentioned several.
It's funny because Gainwell was going to be my deep cut that I'm a little bit annoyed, but I should have known that. Does seem like a Neil kind of guy. I found myself like I really like Devin Neal, right? I like this Neal, but I also like Devin Neal. The Gainwell type stuff where it's like, well, first of all, he has 18 and 29.5 fantasy points in the last 2 weeks, while Jalen Warren, I know he got banged up, but all he's done when he's gotten onto the field is like Jalen Warren looks good too, but like look like he deserves to be out there. Blew up earlier this year when Warren missed a game. This Bills defense is atrocious, like absolutely atrocious. And so it's this spot where he's not like cheap, but for a running back, he's cheap. That like, can I go get like the stuff right? If you want Trey McBride or Tyler Warren or Puka or JSN, it's like, can I just escape with like 22 from HN or whatever, or or Bijan or something like that? Somehow get my Devin Neal, Gainwell stuff and go get the superstar wide receivers. Like on this slate is something that I've been trying to play around with, and I think Gainwell is interestingly kind of a fixture of that because I know we can do it. I know the matchup is good. I know the pass catching is there. Like you said, 6 and 7 catches in the last 2 games. I like him. I like him quite a bit. Let's see here. Just speaking of that game, though, Jordan, a question from OSID because we didn't touch a ton on Josh Allen, and I think he's an interesting decision point for this slate as well. Of like, are we really gonna do Tyrod or Max Brosmer, right, or Cam Ward or whatever? It's like, should we just eat the Josh Allen thing? And I think you are pretty into the Bills' offense scoring some points today.
Yeah, no, Josh Allen is definitely very much in play. I think stacking him, you could play him just Josh Allen and just kind of get to other people because of the way that he just runs. The goal line touchdowns is what you need for this GPP. And then the passing touchdowns, like even if Shakir catches a touchdown, gets 15. That's not gonna do you any good in the GPP. If he gets 20, obviously that would be nice to correlate. Gabe Davis, I think, is a fine stacking partner with some of the usage down the field that he has gotten. The one thing about Josh Allen that I am afraid of, this is the first time in 3-4 years that he's lost his tackles. The Bills' offensive line has never been a different group for 2 straight years. That is unbelievable health on the offensive line. And Deion Dawkins is an all-pro left tackle. He's out. Spencer Brown is like a 6'8" mammoth that mauls people. He's out. I'm worried about the O-line. I actually, like, if you're playing Stafford, I love the Steelers defense because they've been called out in the media. They've been called out by former players. This would be the type of game where it's like, hey, Josh Allen got sacked 8 times against the Texans. What's the record of getting sacked in 2 straight games? Because they don't have their offensive line, and TJ Watt is on the other side of the ball. And this Bills offense, they don't really like to max protect. They don't have receivers that can win when they max protect down the field. So that's the only thing I will say about Josh Allen this week. I'd like Stafford over Allen with the tackles being out. And if I stack them, it's with Shakir or Gabe. It's not really trying to chase the Dawson Knox stuff. I'm good. I think Kincaid is back, if I'm not mistaken. Or was he back?
Yeah, he's questionable, but
oh, okay. Because they said, I remember everybody telling me all the questionable people are playing. It's an ugly game for Josh Allen to play.
I had honestly kind of forgotten you both tackles, right?
The first time.
And we're just seeing, not everything is you can't cherry pick one situation and then compare it to the other one. But you notice we haven't talked much about Chargers, Raiders. Why is that? Because the Chargers, despite a bunch of talent and despite a pretty decent matchup, can't block anyone for Justin Herbert. They couldn't block the Jaguars. They can't block anyone. That's how much it kills even really talented offenses, right? The Raiders have a litany of issues. I don't know if you guys read the most recent thing about Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll, and they weren't running Chip Kelly's offense. And the Raiders are a disaster. That's why maybe touch on Brock Bowers or whatever, but why we're not talking about them a whole lot, Genty and Brock Bowers. That game is like so much less appealing than it should be, right? Than it should be, partially because of coaching, but also because of the offensive line issues. That's my fear for the Bills. It does make me like the Steelers running backs, though, whether it be Gainwell or Warren, quite a bit. Also, Neil, I can't believe you didn't play both Swift and Monangai against the Eagles defense. What kind of donkey doesn't play both Bears running backs and expect 300 rushing yards against the Eagles or whatever?
Like the rare game that I don't go double running back is, of course, and then the same thing. I break down every showdown slate. I, of course, didn't on Thanksgiving. I just did the main slate. So I didn't bring up Malik Davis, who, like, on every showdown slate, I've been playing Malik Davis where he went in him. And then, of course, I don't do content on it. So just like the backup running back angle that I like to play didn't really work on the one game that it worked. I didn't do content on it. And then the double running back, of course, but that one I wasn't doing just because it was against the Eagles defense. Like, you probably don't want to play both of these running backs. Like, just like how would that be the game where the double running back angle?
Ben Johnson is a sicko, though.
Ben Johnson, man, jeez, just carved up the Eagles. That's crazy. That was crazy.
Such a quick turnaround.
See the difference in the Pete Carroll hiring versus the Ben Johnson hiring. Look at my gosh.
For real.
Go ahead.
I mean, to your point about that game, like the coaching actually makes me like the Raiders better. Like the fact that they are no longer that they fired Chip Kelly, it's like any kind of change seems good. Like I just like, hey, maybe the new coach, new play caller wants to just, hey, let's just get it to Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty every time, because that would make a lot of sense to just get it to Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. So it makes me like both of them a little bit better than I would have otherwise. And obviously Brock Bowers is $2,000 cheaper than Trey McBride, so that looks good. I'm a little bit intrigued there. And then, I mean, the Chargers, you're absolutely right that the only reason we don't want to play a ton of the Chargers is that their offensive line is banged up and it's just looked so bad at times. And I've played it a ton. I mean, against the Jaguars, that was like my big stand was like, I'm just going to play all the Chargers. I'm going to do a billion different double stacks in a billion different ways. And my God, it looked bad. But again, this is a defense that they should be able to score points on. I think the bigger reason that I'm not as excited about it is that it's like sort of chalky. Like Justin Herbert is one of the highest projected owned quarterbacks on the slate. And then, I mean, I guess the pass catchers are not, other than Oronde Gadsden, Lad McConkey getting a little bit of ownership. So you can get unique by playing QJ and Keenan Allen a little bit unique, but they're still like high single digit. So it's just like there's no like super contrarian angle to that game. So I'll probably play one-offs of Lad McConkey, QJ. Gadsden does look the best to me of that offense. And Kamani Vidal, but it's the real issue is that it's just kind of chalky. So there's nothing unique about it. It's kind of like I'll probably be around the field on most players in that game and under on Herbert, I would guess.
I do want to say, Jordan, that I know we haven't talked about him, and I know I'm dunking on the Raiders. The Ashton Genty pass game usage has been awesome, which is like when he came in let me just double check the first couple of weeks. 2 targets, 4 targets, 0 targets, 2 targets. It's like, I know they didn't throw to him a bunch in his final season at Boise State, but the year prior when him and Holani were splitting the backfield, he was like the best receiving back you've ever seen in your entire life, because you can't tackle him right now. Certainly freaking San Jose State kids can't tackle Ashton Genty in the open field, but they're finally starting to use him in that way a little bit. So even if the run game isn't going to get going, though, this is not a bad spot for the run game. This Chargers run defense has been pretty poor. If we're going to get 8 targets, right, at 6,400, I think he's pretty appealing. You could do a little, like mini correlation, Genty plus Ladd or QJ or Gadsden or whatever, right? I don't love this game from a shootout perspective, but I think the pieces are interesting.
Yeah, the Genty stuff is like, this is why there's certain teams that can draft running backs early, And I'm frustrated that the Raiders took the idea of Genty playing with the Bears away from us. Because I can only imagine what Ben Johnson would be doing with him right now, because it's like you need your O-line. It is just what it is. It's the way that position works. And when you have the O-line, you're absolutely special. This is obviously a team that doesn't have the O-line. I don't mind it just because like he's to a price now where like 6 targets, he catches 5 of them. I think if you could guarantee me he caught the ball 5 times, I think he would pay off 6-4. I think he would get enough work with the run game, and they're maybe score a touchdown or 2. That would be nice. I know that their new OC has taken over as the interim OC like multiple times throughout his career, and every time he does, he throws the ball a ton. So I don't expect Genty to get 20 carries in this game, but I do expect him to get 20 touches, with a lot of it being passing game work, which is what 6-4 price tag is pretty easy to pay off. But it's an ugly game. It's these two teams are just putrid on the offensive side of the ball, especially the offensive lines.
And the Chargers are supposed to be a playoff team, and and I know it's injuries and you can't help that, but dude, the playoff, the current like setup and playoff odds and all the kind of stuff is mind blowing. I don't remember an NFL season like this where we're like, A, is any team good besides probably the Rams, and B, you're like, are Mahomes and Lamar both gonna miss the playoffs? Is Allen gonna like lose on the road in the opening? Like, are we gonna have like Daniel Jones against like Bo Nix in the conference championship game or something? It's absolutely wild. But the Chargers need to keep winning. And they should win today, but they just got destroyed by the Jaguars. So I'm not like super hopeful about anything with the Chargers. Let's talk about some tight ends super quickly, and then we'll hit our flag plants, what's going to win tournaments today, maybe try to hit a few final questions, and then we'll bring in crunch time to lead you guys all the way up to lock. Any tight ends, Neil, that you just haven't discussed yet that you like?
I don't know that I haven't discussed. Let's see. I mean, we talked about Trey McBride and Brock Bowers, the kind of obvious ones. I brought up Brenton Strange as a tight end that I like quite a bit. Pitts, I think, has just been looking good lately. He's been used pretty significantly. Like, I don't love it because it's such a gross game, but I think he's fine at 4,000. Gadsden, obviously a priority for me at 4,300. I'm just trying to see if there's any other. Juwan Johnson, 4,200, I think, which I think I actually did bring him up already. But I think Juwan Johnson is very playable against Miami. It's been a nice matchup for tight ends in recent weeks. Harold Fannin, I think, could not be hurt by the win too much. Just see some kind of short targets in that matchup with a really bad San Francisco defense. So I like Harold Fannin a little bit. But it's not a slate where I'm like, this is the guy at tight end. It's kind of like it's going to be a lot of correlation with my game stack, I think.
What do you think, Jordan?
Obviously, Tyler Warren's like the main guy that I'm just going to get to. I don't play a ton of lineups, so when I have a strong play at tight end, that's kind of where I end up. But I don't mind the call out on Juwan Johnson. Makes sense with how bad Miami's been. He looks like a fantastic pivot off of Gadsden as well, where it's like he's the number 2 guaranteed Juwan Johnson in this offense. Gadsden could be the 5th in targets in this game with all the receivers they play, but Gadsden's 20% higher owned right now. And then the bottom of the barrel guys like, Ferguson or Parkinson. Parkinson's a preference with Stafford. That's as far as I'd be willing to go. Maybe Dawson Knox if you're playing Josh Allen, but only if you're playing Josh Allen.
The chat asking about, we talked about Colby. I'll hit some of these. Asked about Colby Parkinson. Yep, we've talked about some of that. I know Jordan particularly liked him in Stafford stacks, but I think almost anyone is playable like in just about any permutation of a lineup on this slate. Dude, if Colby Parkinson scores a touchdown at 2,800, I don't really care who is in the rest of the lineup. You can sign me up for that. And of course, Tyler Higbee is out. I know the other guys are going to play, but Colby Parkinson is the lead tight end for the Los Angeles Rams. BBB Collectibles says Gunnar Helm is only 2.6K very excitedly. That's true. I don't think it's like unreasonable to still play Gunnar Helm, but Chigakonko is back, and that's kind of a mushy, like a timeshare tight end in the Titans offense doesn't scream GPP winner to me. But and then I am Steve says you got to play Taysom Hill, right? I think we're a lot lighter on Taysom Hill than the average person might be, but certainly can't deny like he could come out and get a bunch of carries and throw a pass and catch a pass. Like I don't really know, but I don't think using 2 year ago Taysom Hill to inform your decisions on how to play him today after multiple injuries, getting older, and a new head coach. I think it's just a different situation. All right, I want to hit a couple of questions and then we'll do our flag plants just super quickly. Is Keon Coleman active this week? It appears he is going to be, but also so is Brandon Cooks. I don't know what's going on with the Bills, man. Good luck figuring out the wide receiver stuff other than Khalil Shakir. But Osid does ask, how would you complete a Josh Allen stack? Neil, do you have a favorite? Is it just Shakir? Are you waiting for injury news or?
It's probably Shakir. We don't have the injury news because that's a later game. Somebody had asked that earlier. So we don't know yet if Dalton Kincaid is in, but they called up, I believe, a tight end from the practice squad. So I think most likely Kincaid is out, which should benefit Shakir. So yeah, I generally will be stacking Josh Allen for my large field contest, and Shakir would be my number one option there.
All right, Jordan Mario wants to know defense between these three defenses, the Seahawks, the Rams, or the 49ers.
I feel like the Rams at ownership. That's just they're 1% owned compared to the Seahawks, who are 11. Seahawks are probably the best play. The 49ers are the one defense I wouldn't play. I know the weather is absolutely terrible over there, and I know they played well against Bryce Young, and I know Shedeur Sanders is out there. But if you watch that game, they ran Wildcat with Quinshon Judkins like 8 times in the first half, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, if they're running Wildcat, you're not getting fantasy points. And I watched them in a bad weather game go to Wildcat with Quinshon Judkins quite a bit against the Miami Dolphins. I think we see a lot of Wildcat today, and it just kind of ruins the idea of like dropping back and having these turnovers, like what you're looking for in GPPs. Defenses. I love the Steelers this week. That's my like flag plant defense with no tackles over there in Buffalo.
I will say the Browns thing. I like Harold Fannin today. He has gotten some Wildcat snaps over the course of the season. He is a absolute tank. Like, he is much more physical than I even thought. As a huge fan of his from college, like, he's not Darnell Washington, right? But like, think about how those guys run, and they're just like they're waiting for the defender. They're like, come on, I'm gonna run through you and fall forward for like 6 more yards. He's a monster. He got some nice coach speak this week, and Njoku kind of fading away. I think a pretty good spot for Fannin. All right, Spicy Bread wants to know Kyron or Jalen Warren, Neil?
Oof. Probably Kyron out of those two.
Jordan, Kamani Vidal or Ashton Genty on FanDuel specifically, so half PPR.
Vidal is safer. No Hampton, he's going to get red zone work.
And then one question, Neil, before we hit our flag plants. You mentioned Brian Thomas Jr., but BTTH wants to be talked off the Parker Washington ledge. Are you sticking with Parker Washington with BTJ back?
I mean, it's easy to talk him off of it because Brian Thomas Jr. is returning. They have Jacoby Myers ahead of him. Brenton Strange is back, so just not a ton to go there. I'll probably still have some Parker Washington, so I'm not going to completely talk you off of playing it. But yeah, I think they have a lot of mouths to feed at this point.
Slate's so bad. Neil's 150 set is actually only 25 unique lineups. You do love to see it. Okay, one more question. I lied. Jordan, are you in? I know you're like Tyler Warren's like your big flag plant, but Darren Waller, are you willing to see it before, or play it before you see it with him coming back? The chat seems pretty interested in Waller.
I think I would only do it if I was doing like a Tua Waller stack as like a hey, Achane fails and give me like James Cook or Bijan or some of the other running backs. That would be the only way I play it. I would not be playing Waller as a one-off. I
think that makes. I'm kind of intrigued by Waller. Maybe my best ball team is clouding my judgments that I need Darren Waller. But I kind of like the leverage off of Achane and maybe doing the way we're talking, like play Devin Neal, move down at running back price wise or something, and go get up to JSN or Puka, or you can play Waddle, of course, then on those teams and use Waller as a part of that. I think is an intriguing build. Okay, I think we got most of your questions. If we have not hit your questions, crunch time is coming up here in just a second. They will get you set up all the way up until lock and answer as many of your questions as they can. But we got to do our flag plants. What is going to win tournaments today? this will be the week that I do not get a 0, Neil. That's the plan here in my flag plant section, is to not get a 0, which is a little tougher this week than I thought, but I've done a really good job at finding those zeros. What's the thing that people need today on this disgusting slate?
Yeah, I guess I'll stick with what I've been saying that I do not feel great about at all, which is Jaguars. I think it's going to be a Trevor Lawrence double with Brenton Strange in there, and I'll go with Brenton Strange and Brian Thomas Jr. Do not play a ton of that because I don't feel that confident in it, but I'm going to play some of it.
Jordan?
It's so Tyler Warren's my flag plant. I will say I think he could be throw a touchdown, run a touchdown, and catch a touchdown today. That's going to be one of my bigger takes today. So if you see him in the Wildcat, just know I am smiling watching it.
I love it. I'm going to go ahead with the Tua doubles. We're gonna go with the Tua doubles. HN has a fine game because, of course, and you can include HN in those stacks. But I think they feast a little bit more through the air here, and maybe HN doesn't nuke the slate. Interestingly, he hasn't really. He's just projects really well, but gets 25 every week. He's only really crushed a couple of times. So we're fingers crossed that he doesn't do that this week. But let's go ahead and bring on the crunch time folks. Maybe they have some different ideas about this slate. I'm authentic is who said Zay? Was that your Jordan Zay Flowers last week? We're getting called out. If you combined Zay Flowers and JMO last week, we got however many points Zay Flowers got.
Zay Flowers had DPI'd on a 40-yard touchdown.
I know.
You got pulled back. I just it was bad. It was a bad call. Lamar's not good. But...
Dude, and then this past week, a game-changing touchdown that he caught down the sideline that gets called back for a really soft OPI. But Tim, welcome back. TJ, thanks for joining us. What led to this Tim double duty?
Britt and Christy both being unavailable.
Holiday troubles, I assume. For Britt's probably at Disney World, I would imagine, for Thanksgiving is my guess. But Tim, I didn't catch your flag plants and such from earlier. You got anything spicy?
Oh, mine actually correlates with yours, Eric. Mine's Chris Olave. Since I'm very, very high on the Dolphins, I feel like I want to get a run back. Olave is going to get some ownership, but I don't think he's going to be overly chalky. So I do really like building into that game. So Olave was my flag plant.
I love it. TJ, I should have just been following you the last couple of weeks. I know you hammered the Jameis stuff, the Jacoby Brissett stuff, with even down to the triple stacks. So what do you got for us this week?
Staying with the ugly stuff. I'm rolling out a ton of Tyrod Taylor and Cam Ward this week. So those are the double stacks I'm throwing out there. My first thought when these Titans guys got ruled in was that I was going to be a little bit lower on Cam Ward. And then I realized we have all these guys like Higgins and Mechie and AD Mitchell picking up ownership because there are no cheap receivers to go to. Why don't I just want to play a $3,700 Elite Iomanor that nobody's getting to? So Cam Ward and Iomanor are two guys that I'm getting a ton of.
I love it. Yeah, we should have probably shouted out to the Mechies and stuff of the world, but that's okay. These guys got you here at Crunch Time. I know TJ will get you with all of the super gross names
always
that we missed, but we'll get out of you guys' hair. These guys got you taken care of, and we'll see you guys in week 14. Cheers.
Let's do it. Let's dive into it. Tim, welcome back. Nice to see you. Looking forward to breaking down this slate with you. We got an ugly slate, but kind of fun. Everybody's playing with the same pieces. Everybody's got the same lack of value. And so I still think this should be a pretty enjoyable one. We will help everybody break it down. We'll go position by position for covering both DraftKings and FanDuel together. Then I'll take your questions. I'll go to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. I'll go to the YouTube chat second. YouTube, if you're watching us, smash that like button. That's all we ask. Help us out by giving that thing a little click. That's all you got to do. Tim, how you doing? How are you? You feeling any different about this slate now than a couple hours ago?
Yeah, so I've spent the last hour 20 just kind of building out teams, hand building teams. It's pretty tough today, and that is the part of the slate that I do like. Like, it's the pricing is actually pretty tough. So I do like that component of the slate. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty gross also at the same time. Like it's super hard to find a stack that you absolutely love. You just aren't going to like your teams today. I think that's just the bottom line. Like, you should be uncomfortable today. It's very, very tough to just really build out solid stacks. So, but it's a little bit different site to site too. FanDuel is a little bit different. We can talk about some of those nuances between the sites if you're playing on both today. I am playing single entry on both. I'm only playing cash on DK. I'm not playing cash on FanDuel today, but I can still give recommendations on FanDuel cash.
First thing I think we should talk about is the weather, because we got a bunch of ugly weather on this slate. Worst of all, in Cleveland. Roth said the good news here is that we're dry. The bad news is that winds will be sustained around 25 miles per hour and wind gusts around 35 miles an hour. That will be impactful for longer throws and kicks. Big wins today. Are you getting to much Cleveland and San Fran? I think I did. I'm running 30 lineups in the Millie Maker. So just to get like really different, I did have one Shadur team I put in there, but I have a touch of McCaffrey, and that's basically it in this game.
Yes, so that is one of the big differences between the sites is that on FanDuel, McCaffrey's only 8,600, and I think that's just way too cheap for him. So on FanDuel, I am currently rostering CMC. I was just going to say I'm not worried about the weather. That's not entirely true. I am a little bit worried about the weather. I'm not worried about the weather when it comes to CMC. He's going to get a ton of check down work. He's going to get a ton of rush attempts. He's going to be getting a ton of touches here. So CMC on FanDuel, way too cheap, 8,600. On DK, I was considering playing him. It was tough for me because we'll talk about Devin A-Chain, but CMC at 9,300, that's a little bit tougher of a click, but I do absolutely love him in GPPs. We currently have him, I think, around 15% owned on DK, and I really do like that. Maybe not necessarily someone I would get vastly overweight on, but he's definitely got to be in the pool here. And because I think a lot of people are going to get scared off because of that weather, so they're just not going to be clicking on anyone in this game. So I think CMC is fantastic.
That's the only game that I'm really factoring in weather to. I think like the Jets game, it's going to be a little wet. It's going to be a little cold, but it's not going to be very windy. I don't care too much about that. Pittsburgh, it's looking like it's going to be pretty ugly, but I'm more interested in the running backs in that game. And I feel like I can play Josh Allen in a windy game because I don't really like any of his receivers anyways. I'm just more interested in playing just Josh Allen. So not really factoring in too much weather in any of these games outside of that Cleveland one. I'm not getting to much Judkins personally, but I do think he is on the table as well. Let's start talking about the quarterback position. We'll weave in some stacks here as well. We got CJ Stroud projecting as the optimal cash game quarterback on DK. Is that the case on FanDuel as well? And is Stroud the guy that you are personally going to go to in cash?
Stroud is the guy that I'm going to in cash on DK. He should be the guy that you're going to on FanDuel cash. So he's the cash game quarterback today. It's kind of unfortunate, but he's just priced too good. $5K for him on DK. He is 6,800 on FanDuel. There's an element of safety there on a slate where there just isn't a lot of safety here. So it's definitely that's like kind of like the floor play. But I'm not enthused by it. He's not going to be my single entry quarterback. But he's going to be your cash game guy. If you don't want to play Stroud, I think that Trevor Lawrence at 5,400, Jacoby Brissett at 58 are okay plays to show up within cash games today. But I think you've got to prioritize CJ Stroud. Matt Stafford at 7K, again, I don't think he's a cash game guy. And salary's pretty tough today. Like there's, there are some value plays, but they're not amazing. So I just don't think you can really go higher than Brissett in cash.
That makes sense. I'm going outside of the chalky to guys in tournaments today. I'm playing a touch of CJ Stroud, but I think one lineup of 30. Same with Justin Herbert, one lineup of 30. I'll be well underweight. No Darnold for me, no Lawrence for me. I am playing a fair amount of Josh Allen, but my favorite spend up is Matt Stafford. I'm right there with you. I love a Stafford for double or triple stack today. Play him with both Adams and Puka. Play him with Colby Parkinson, if you want. All of the three of them in play, and I'm getting to a fair amount of Matthew Stafford today. Outside of that, I'm starting to play some gross options. Like I'm getting to Stafford and Allen, but outside of that, Tyrod Taylor and Cam Ward are going to be my two highest owned quarterbacks on the slate. And then I'm getting to a fair amount of Tua Tagovailoa and Tyler Shuck as well. Don't feel really great about any of them, but that's the kind of slate that it is. And like you said, salary is tough. And so I want to use some of these cheap options, hope I can get 2 or 3 touchdowns out of one of them, and then I'll have the expensive guys to pair with them. Who is your favorite tournament option among these cheap QBs? If I'm not mistaken, you're on the Tua train as well.
I am on the Tua train. I'm building heavily into that game. I'm hoping that he's going to come in around half the ownership as CJ Stroud. I'm seeing that perhaps maybe Cam Ward's getting a little bit steamed as well. Or at least I think he's gone up a little bit in terms of projected ownership. So yeah, I'm hoping Tua gets squeezed kind of between Stroud and Ward here. And I just really like streaming against the Saints. And you can do it, pretty cheaply here with Tua under 5K. So he is currently my single entry quarterback. He's actually my single entry quarterback on both sites. I was thinking about not doing it on FanDuel, but I figured I'd just go all in today on the Tua train. So yeah, Tua's my favorite. I don't mind Cam Ward today. If I was building up more teams, I'd probably get to some, but it's just I really prefer Tua over Cam Ward. And then, are you getting to any Tyrod Taylor, DJ?
Oh yeah, Tyrod is my second highest owned QB behind Cam Ward. I currently have Ward in 7 lineups, or no, it's Ward in 6 lineups, Stafford in 6 lineups, and Tyrod Taylor in 6. So those 3 are going to be tied for my highest owned QB. Tier 2 for me is Tua and Josh Allen, and then the bottom tier is, tier 3 is Shuck and Stroud. Tier 4, I have Sanders and Herbert in just 1 team apiece. Stroud, I actually ended up in 2. Shuck, I ended up in 2. So Ward, Stafford, Tyrod Taylor are my big 3 today.
How many Tyrod Taylor teams are doubles?
All of them that aren't triples. I think I have one team with Mason Taylor in there too, but the rest of them have 80 the other 5 are 80 Mitchell and Mechie in both of them.
Yeah, so when we started off the People Show today, a few hours ago, that's what I first initially saw a ton in Sims, were a ton of Tyrod Taylor doubles in Sims. Not seeing as many of those, but still seeing quite a few. I thought that was the next option that I was considering over Tua, was to go Tyrod Taylor doubles, and then just pay up, for the super, a couple of stud wide receivers, in that build. But I decided to go Tua instead.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I actually thought Tyrod and Stacks were going to be the ones that got steamed up today and not the Cam Ward ones. I was kind of surprised to see that go in the opposite direction, but I'm still getting a ton of both of them today. Any other large field stacks or anything else at quarterback you want to mention before we move on? We did just get a quarterback question. Someone just tuning in, CJ Stroud or Tua for cash early. It's Stroud for cash. Tua for tournament, Stroud for cash.
It's still CJ Stroud for cash games. You getting any Sam Darnold, I think, is super interesting today. You can pair him with Barner and JSN, or you could just go the JSN route. I think that Kenneth Walker is going to be somewhat popular today, so getting to Sam Darnold instead might be some decent leverage there. So I don't mind Sam Darnold. Possible revenge spot as well. Going to be he's going to be somewhat popular, but he's not going to get super steamed or anything.
There we go. All right, let's pivot over to the running back position, where we have, like you mentioned, CMC a lot cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. On DraftKings, Devon Achane is the one, I feel, cash game lock at the running back position. Outside of him, there are a few correct answers, like Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Bijan Robinson, Kaimani Vidal, Devin Neal all feel like they're totally fine to play in a cash game today. Am I wrong?
Yeah, they're absolutely fine. Devon Achane is 100% your cash game lock across all sites, all formats. That's one spot where I simply would not fool around with. Like he's definitely the guy today. He would be an overweight play for me in GPPs. I'm not sure what you're doing with him in GPPs, but I would get plenty over our 31% projected ownership for him. I would probably double that, to be honest with you, in a 20 max or at 150 set. He would definitely be a 3 out of 3 play for me in 3 max. So Achane is definitely the guy today. Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, definitely can be in consideration for RB2. I know some optimals are really giving Kenneth Walker. I think it's super, super close between him and Breece Hall. But I mean, I don't mind playing all 3 in cash. You could pay up for RB2 in cash as well. Bijan Robinson, CMC are completely in play today. So definitely, they're viable. Kamani Vidal, yeah, I think he's okay, but I'd much prefer going to Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker or one of those spend up options that I just mentioned. James Cook in GPPs at 7,600, I really, really like today. If you want to get a little bit different here, he's only showing up with 12% projected ownership. I think he's fantastic today. Love him. Devin Neal at 5K. I really do like that game. I was considering playing him instead of Chris Olave. It was pretty close to get my Saints exposure to go in my Tua stack. If you don't want to play Olave, I think Devin Neal at 5K is really fantastic. Don't forget, like, if you're trailing today as we get to the 4:00 games and you're sitting with a much chalkier Kenneth Walker, don't forget about Gainwell.
That's my guy. That's my guy today.
Just as like a late swap option, like, yeah, you can play him anyway, but if you're trailing today and you're like, oh man, I need to get some off some of this chalk to maybe catch the field and maybe Walker busts, Kenneth Gainwell is a fantastic late swap option in my opinion. So just keep that in mind today as the slate is unfolding.
Agreed with you there. I'm a big fan of Kenneth Gainwell today as well, either as a late swap option off of Walker or just in general. I think he's a great tournament option. He's been involved in the running game. He's been very involved in the passing game. And with a game that they're probably going to struggle to pass the ball downfield, I think those short passes to Gainwell are going to be pretty great today. I like James Cook as well as a lower owned option today. I'm going to be about even on Kenneth Walker. I like the spot, but I don't like the ownership. Like that high of ownership on Walker, who could have 95 yards and no touchdowns because Charbonnet is the one who punches them in, or Barner is the one who punches them in. Just it feels scary. It doesn't feel overly safe. I'm going to be overweight on Bijan as my number 2 spend up behind Devon Achane today. I am getting a little bit of McCaffrey, but I have more Bijan Robinson today. I even have a Jonathan Taylor lineup. I have one Jonathan Taylor lineup just because I'm playing a CJ Stroud stack in tournaments, and I threw Warren in one of them, and then I threw Jonathan Taylor in the other. I have Etienne in one of my Cam Ward teams, but Devin Neal and Ashton Genty as well is another guy I'm getting to. But Devin Neal is someone I'll be overweight on, but my big stance in tournaments is I'm going to be playing about 30% Kenneth Gainwell, somebody that I am very, very high on today. Let's go over to the wide receiver position. I think the first spot we got to talk about is Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Who is the cash game priority for you of these two? We currently have Puka projecting for a little bit higher ownership. And who do you like in tournaments today? I personally have 50% Nacua and 40% JSN, so I'm playing a ton of both.
I like JSN a little bit more here. I know that $500 does make a difference on this slate. I'm personally getting the JSN. Puka Nacua is currently in our first, the RG optimal, which I obviously don't blame at all. But I just prefer JSN. I'm a little bit worried about Puka Nakua's red zone targets, just with Devonta right there. So it's close, but I'm currently leaning JSN. JSN appears to be like he's going to be a little bit lower owned too because he's a little bit more expensive. So I like JSN for tournaments as well. So I'm glad I'm kind of liking that I'm on JSN here, but really they're fantastic. And if you can find builds where you go a little bit stars and scrubs, I can see a route to play both here. Maybe not in cash games, but in GPPs, I really do like that. But between those two, it's JSN for me.
What about with the cheap guys? Because we have a ton of options that don't feel great, but are kind of necessary for today's slate. So there's guys like Jaden Higgins, John Mechie, A.D. Mitchell. First, how would you rank those three guys? And then I'll also add my favorite pivot off of all three of them, because they'll probably all be in the 10 to 15% range, is Erik Beimfohr for Tennessee today.
Yeah, so I think it's Mitchell for cash games. It's pretty close. It's Jaden Higgins is right there. Don't forget about Alec Pierce at 4,800. Really do like him if you want to kind of stay away from the super cheap stuff. But I think it's Mitchell for me at 3,600 is going to be my wide receiver 3. But it's really Mitchell, Higgins, Mechie, DK at 4,400. I don't mind either. I think he's okay. Ayumanor not in cash, but GPP is completely fine. But yeah, it's Mitchell for me as my preferred cash game cheapie.
I prefer Higgins over Mitchell in that situation, just because I think he's going to get more targets, but not enough that if I need the $300 that I would change it. Like if I
that's
need
what kept happening to me, TJ, is that I needed that $300.
Yeah,
you know, like pricing's pretty tough. Yeah,
but,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. In a vacuum, Higgins, but like I often need that $300, and so A.D. Mitchell. I don't like Higgins enough more than A.D. Mitchell to change it. I would just rather go A.D. Mitchell if I'm using that 300. Other guys in tournaments that I really like today, Devontae Adams is the one I'm going to be. Adams and Ayumanor are probably my biggest stands at wide receiver. I want to have one of JSN, Adams, Puka in every one of my lineups today. And I get that he's pricey, but this role and this is so great. And I just love this offense today. And so I'm playing about 30% Devontae Adams. I want at least one of him, Puka, JSN in every single lineup I play. I'm going to be underweight on a guy like Jalen Waddle. Like, it's rare that the Saints get torched by wide receivers. It's far often more coming from running backs. And so Waddle, I'm pairing him exclusively with Tua. If I'm not playing Tua, I'm not playing Waddle. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. How do you feel about Waddle today?
I'm very, very high on Waddle. I have him at 6,800 on DK, and I have him at 7K on FanDuel. So I'm very, very high on Waddle here. He's one of my favorite plays in cash and single entry GPPs. So I'm just super high on Miami here. So I can't imagine leaving him off of my Tua stacks. So Waddle's one of my favorite plays. I can't
imagine leaving him off a Tua stack either. I'm just like outside of Tua stacks is where I'm not going to get him.
Yeah, so definitely very, very high on Waddle. I spoke about Chris Olave. He's like my flag plant play of the day, if you want to call it that. Hovering around 10% ownership, so not really going to get super steamed. Love him in that mid-range as part of those stacks. Don't forget about Khalil Shakir today. I thought he was going to be a little bit more owned. I know that Coleman is active, but I don't really care that much. So 5,500 for him, I think is really solid. We talked about DK at 4,400. Yeah, so it's definitely Waddle, Olave for me in that mid range, and then I like Khalil Shakir as well.
I think I'd bump personally Nico Collins just a little bit above Jalen Waddle, but I do really like Chris Olave in that range. Also, Ladd McConkey's there, but I think he would kind of drop lower than the rest of those guys on my list. And same with Emeka Egbuka. Like, he is, I think, a very interesting tournament play, but I like Olave a little bit better. I like Nico Collins a little bit better. I have Quentin Johnston in 2 of my lineups. I don't mind him for tournaments. And then one other cheap option that I forgot to mention, but since I am getting to a lot of Stafford stacks, I actually really like him as a run back in this game, is Jalen Coker. Projected for sub 5% ownership, and he's $3,400. I don't really think he's all that different. He's probably like not quite as great of a spot, but not all that different from the Mechis, the Mitchells, the Higginses. And so I'm getting to some Jalen Coker specifically in my Stafford teams as well.
Ted McMillan earlier in the day was flooding optimals. He's still in some now. I don't really love him today, especially if he's going to get a ton of ownership. I don't really want to get to many of the Panthers here. So I'd much rather pivot and do what you did with Coker than play a chalky Ted McMillan. I don't really want to play a chalky piece of the Carolina Panthers today.
Anything else at receiver, or should we pivot to to tight end?
Let's go to tight end.
Did have a request to see some of the FanDuel screen share as well. They could have thrown in a please, if I'm being honest, but it's very similar for the optimal rates on FanDuel today. Quarterback, you could still see CJ Stroud is the clear guy up top that you want to go with. Devon Achane, still the clear number 1 running back, but like we talked about, McCaffrey is priced down, and so he is up there in a tier right below as well. Vidal, Hall, Walker, Neal, Bijan, exact same guys in terms of optimal rates from wide receiver position. Same thing. We have Puka up top. JSN's a little bit lower. It's separated more on FanDuel between Puka and JSN. Most of the other names, same guys up top. As we pivot to tight end here, Oronde Gadsden and then Kyle Pitts, same thing on FanDuel and DraftKings, are going to be the 2 highest owned guys on both. And so I kind of like going away from these guys today. If I'm picking one, I prefer Gadsden more than Pitts, just because I like that offense quite a bit better than the Falcons. But with these guys projecting for like upwards of 40% ownership combined on the 2 sites, I kind of feel like I want to go elsewhere.
Yeah, so if you're playing cash games today, I think it's Gadsden over Pitts. I really like Brent Strange at 3,700. I really like him today. Projected for under 5% ownership. Give me that all day over a much chalkier Kyle Pitts. I get it if you want to just play the projection in cash and play Pitts, but personally, I'm either just going to full on punt tight ends or go to Gadsden or Strange. So I'm personally not going to be playing Pitts today. So yeah, but I mean, I love Strange at 3,700. I think he's fantastic. Brock Bowers is currently hitting our number 1 optimal. So I think that's super interesting. He's showing up with 14% projected ownership. I don't think it gets much higher than that. So because I'm hearing a lot of talk about Tyler Warren at 5,200. So I think Bowers might be the forgotten guy. So don't forget about Bowers. I know that sounds weird to say, but I just don't think he's going to be that popular. Trey McBride still just going to be around 8% today. So I think he's, tight end is, I don't see any reason to get super chalky with Kyle Pitts today. Like if you're going to play chalk at tight end, I think it's Gadsden or go to one of these more contrarian options. I still think like you can play Kobe Parkinson at 2,800. I still think you can play Gunnar Helm at 2,600. I think if you really, really need a punt, I think he's viable. So I think Gunnar Helm is in play at 2,600.
I agree with you. I'm still playing a fair amount of Helm on draft on FanDuel. It's like I kind of think of it as a coin flip between Helm and Okongwu, where they're basically the same price. But on DraftKings, where pardon me, Helm is drastically cheaper, full punt territory. I like him there as well. I'm getting to him quite a bit with my camera.
Oh, and don't forget, sorry TJ, don't forget Darren Waller's min priced on FanDuel.
Yes.
So that's a pretty nice, like, he got a ton of red zone targets, when he was healthy earlier in the year. If that's the same kind of game plan today, min price for him is, I think, a pretty solid piece here.
Very good point. I will say I am playing one Kyle Pitts team in a lineup that I have Tyrod Taylor stack. I'm just kind of turning it into a game stack, and I do have one Kyle Pitts team there, but other than that, I'm fading him. Got a question about Parkinson. That's a guy that I really like in my Matthew Stafford stacks, not getting him outside of Stafford stacks. So I kind of feel like a Helm I'm playing with Ward, Parkinson I'm playing with Stafford. I do have one Taysom Hill team specifically with Tua as just like the lone run back from the Saints. I have one Hill team, one Juwan Johnson, one Chris Olave, one Devin Neal. That's kind of how I'm running out my 4 Tua teams. And so I agree with you. Get off of the big chalk of like a Pitts and a Gadsden in a large field GPP. Probably would still go Gadsden for cash personally, but Brock Bowers and Tyler Warren, I think both of them are great. And then just punting with a low owned option that pairs with your QB, I think that's pretty great too. In all my Cam Ward teams, I'm basically just going Helm or Strange as a run back as the 2 tight ends that I'm playing with there. Any other tight ends that we'd want to throw in? I don't think I have anybody else in my pool. Let me just double check. Parkinson, Gadsden, Juwan Johnson, Helm, Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is another guy that I want to mention specifically for if Dalton Kincaid is still out. He ran more routes than any of the wide receivers on the Bills last week. All those guys are going to be shuffling in and out. Assuming Kincaid is playing, assuming Kincaid is out, Knox should be the one constant there. I wouldn't get to him if Kincaid plays, though. And then
Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz was the one other guy in my pool that we didn't talk about. So Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, I forgot about him. He's a really good pivot in that same price range as Gadsden and Pitts. Super close, in my opinion, between Schultz and Strange. Personally, I'm leaning Strange there in that upper 3 price tier, but it's super close.
Makes a lot of sense. No qualms with me on that one. I like Dalton Schultz quite a bit. Great tight end matchup for him going up against the Colts, as that's kind of where they've been allowing most of their spots this year. Now, we had a couple questions about the San Francisco defense. Don't worry, my friend. I didn't forget about you. I think this is the fate of the slate. San Francisco defense being mega chalk, I don't like it. Their defense isn't very good. And so, yes, it's a great matchup. Yes, it's bad weather, but I don't want to play the San Francisco defense as mega chalk today. I would way rather go elsewhere. If you can afford it, I would far, far prefer to go up to the Seahawks, to the Rams, to the Chargers, even the Jaguars. I would rather play than the 49ers today. Or you can go down to the Falcons, Bills right below. My favorite range is 26 to 3K on DraftKings. Texans, Browns, Steelers. That's where I'm loading up my defenses today.
Yeah, I really like the Browns here. I know I talked about CMC, but that's really the only thing I'm worried about. 3K at 4% projected ownership versus 3,600 and close to 20% projected ownership for the Niners. Give me the Browns at that $600 discount all day. I mean, please. Yeah, I agree with you, TJ. If the Niners are really going to be this highly owned, I don't have any interest. I like to pay up to get different option with the Seahawks. But yeah, I was going back and forth between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. I'll take my chances with a $2,600 defense at home, despite the fact that I really do like James Cook. But you know, I don't usually spend super high on defense, so it was really between the Browns and the Steelers for me, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be much of an ownership discrepancy between the two. So I took the $400 savings and went Steelers.
I like it. On FanDuel, there's going to be 40% projected ownership combined, over 30% projected ownership combined for Dolphins and 49ers. So just play anybody else, any of those other names that we had just mentioned. We'll go rapid fire through some QQs here. We still got some time before we hit lock. Get your questions in. Smash that like button. Best FanDuel cash QB, Tim.
FanDuel cash QB is CJ Stroud.
Is Waller a good cheap tight end play? He's great on FanDuel, on DraftKings. I would probably reserve him to only playing with Tua because he is quite a bit more expensive there. So in play, yes, absolutely, but probably only in Tua stacks. Is it a 3 running back in cash day for you, Tim?
I think it is, yeah.
Who should I play on the DraftKings early only slate besides 49ers for defense? Tim and I would both go with the Browns. We love the Browns in that game on the same side. What do you think about Justin Jefferson as a one-off today?
I'm all set.
not getting to there myself. If I was playing him, I would probably play him with the 4K Brosmer, because if Jefferson's getting there, probably needs a touchdown. And if Brosmer throws a touchdown, he might be fine for 4K. Breece Hall, anyone? Yes, Hall is one of the best running back plays on the slate today. Are you getting to Hall in your cash and single entry team?
Yeah, so that was kind of like a 1v1, 2v2 that I was shaking out between my cash game and my single entry team. He's not in my single entry team, but he is currently in my cash game team. But it's like I could easily flip flop that. I mean, I might want to have him in both. I'm not really sure. And he is on my single entry team in FanDuel as well.
Favorite wideout on DK 4,600 or less?
It's DK. Yeah. That's a pretty tough. DK. That's a pretty tough zone, because I think you should be paying up a little bit more for Alec Pierce. But if you don't want to do that, DK's the guy.
Puka, JSN, or CMC? Who's your favorite spend up? We both like JSN on that one. Who are the chalk wide receivers play for cash? Are you spending up for Puka or JSN in cash?
So I think it's JSN over Puka. That's my opinion. Optimals are, I think, kind of disagreeing with that, but I think it's JSN today.
It's kind of how I feel too, although I am getting to a little bit more Puka just because of how much Stafford exposure I have. DK Cash, Nico Collins, Waddle, Bowers, or JSN, Shakir, Bowers. So Bowers is in both. Nico Collins and Jalen Waddle, or JSN and Shakir?
Yeah, that user actually corrected their question.
Gadsden, right. JSN, Shakir, Gadsden, or Nico Waddle, Bowers?
It's the JSN one.
Thoughts on Schultz? We both like Schultz. How would you rank the Chargers receivers in terms of priority today? I actually got Quentin Johnson number one. This looks like a really great matchup against the Raiders DBs. So I actually have QJ1, has low ownership, followed by McConkey with Allen third. How about you?
I don't mind that. And then it's like, are you going to include Gadsden in there as a wide receiver? I mean, because Gadsden's going to be the chalkiest one by a ton. So kind of like how
Gadsden would be 4 for me in terms of like outside of that fact that I can play him at tight end, but just like if I was ranking it as a flex, he'd be 4.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of how you rank the wide receivers. I would do that the exact same way.
All right. Can't trust Waller after fumbling Kelsey Plum. Great point. Some Browns defense talk. Yes. Okay. Neal, Shakir, and Helm, or Hall, AD Mitchell, and Schultz?
I suppose it depends on the format.
AD Mitchell and Schultz team.
Yeah. This is what I'm struggling with, because I don't know. I didn't know if I want to play.
We do have a minute and a half to lock with more questions, so I just want to make sure we get through locked.
Yeah, the Hall one's safer.
Yeah, Hall one for the rapid fire. Is Waller too thin? FanDuel cash.
I think for cash it's too thin.
Terry McLaurin or JJ? That is JJ for season long. In GPP, Kittle and Titans, or Schultz and Seahawks?
Did you say Schultz?
Yeah.
Yeah, Schultz.
All right. For cash wide receiver, Brian Thomas Jr. or DK Metcalf, cash on Yahoo. Ugh.
Oh, on Yahoo, I have not looked at Yahoo prices.
Of those two, Brian Thomas Jr., I guess.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Bijan Robinson today? I really like him. How do you feel about Robinson?
Yeah, I'm not getting to him anywhere in a single entry or cash, but I think he's fantastic if you want to play him.
FanDuel cash wide receiver 5,900 or below. You got Pierce there?
Alec Pierce.
What's the number one stack today? Who's going to break the slate? The Rams. DK single entry. Walker or Vidal or Neal? Last piece.
Walker, and you can always late swap to Kenneth Gainwell.
Thoughts on Baker doubles today? No. Collins or Olave? FanDuel GPP. We both like Olave.
Olave.
Jensen and QJ, or Warren and Shakir?
I guess Warren Shakir.
Collins and Seattle defense, or Nakua and Falcons defense? Oh, definitely Nakua and Falcons defense on that one.
Yeah.
And we have reached lock. We did it, Tim. Impeccable work. Perfect timing. every single one of the questions right at the nick of time. I'm proud of us. That was really good. Smash that like button for us on the way out. Help us out. Help us keep the lights on here. It's easy to do. Just give it a little click. You're watching on your phone or tablet. It's tougher. I'm sorry. You got to give 2 clicks. You got to hit the X button on the hide chat, and then you can pull it up and hit that like button for us. But it's also a good time to let you know you only got a couple days left to take advantage of this deal. Get yourself the Black Friday Combo Pro. That is $74.99 a month for your first 3 months at the same price as a single sport, but you get access to NFL, NBA, NHL, college football, MMA, everything but NASCAR. After 3 months, it'll renew at the regular price of $119.99 a month. Offer is valid only for 2 more days, so take advantage. Get yourself all the sports for the price of one with the Combo Pro Black Friday deal. You can also get yourself a 3-day promo for NFL, which allows you to get all of the access to all of our NFL tools, lineup HQ, SimLabs, player projections, ownership projections, and more. You get to SimLabs, which helps you build easy, competitive, smart lineups with just a few clicks, only for $9.99. Get yourself access to a 3-day pass. Tim, anything else before we get out of here?
Nope. Enjoyed it, TJ. Good luck, everybody.
Good luck. Happy to see you. And you can catch myself and Chief later this evening for the Sunday Night Football pre-log show as well. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. On behalf of myself and Tim, we will see you next time. Peace.